So we live now.
We live, baby.
We live, baby.
The promo screen is up though. Except yo, Sonya. You got me? You hear me? You hear me? Can you hear me? That's cool. What's going on, good people? Thank you so much for tuning in to this Monday edition of I Said What I Said. We are live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios, live on the Maze Jackson Facebook page. This is I Said What I Said. My name is Herb Howard. My esteemed co-host is the one and only good brother, Mr. Toussaint Warner. Thank you so much for choosing to tune in to us and be a part of the conversation. As always, your input is valued and appreciated. You can leave your comments on the page. We'll read through as many of them as we go. You can also choose to call in if you like. The telephone number here is 872-259-7474, 872-259-7474. Phone lines will be open at 1:30. If you want to call in and join the conversation that way, feel free to do so. As always, your input is valued and appreciated. Please, 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 if you would, take a quick moment to share the conversation, share it to your personal page, share it even within your personal network. Anybody that you think would find value in or add value to this conversation, invite them to be a part of this conversation. We want to bring in as many like-minded individuals as possible. Again, we get together right here each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and we discuss issues that are affecting and impacting the black community, how those things are impacting us as individuals, also how they're impacting us as a collective. And then along with your help, we try to talk through this thing and have some solutions for how we can overcome those things, again, as individuals, but perhaps more importantly, as a collective. So thanks again for choosing to be a part of this I Said What I Said conversation. Your support means a great deal to us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Also, if you want to continue to support the show, you can also click those gold stars at the bottom of the page, and you can support the show that way. We greatly, greatly appreciate those gold stars. As you continue to send those in, we will continue to thank you and shout you out throughout the show. So please, please, please continue to support the show in that way as well. Again, my name is Herb Howard. His name is Toussaint Warner too. What's going on, good brother? How you feeling?
What's up, family? I'm here in the flesh, man. I'm maintaining. I'm in a little bit of pain, though, man.
Yeah.
You remember I've been telling you about I thought I had a growing injury probably for the last year.
Yeah, I know you thought you did, but that's not really what was going on.
Yeah, that's not what's happening here, G. I just went to the doctor the other day and found out that I got acute arthritis and I need a hip replacement, G. I feel like I'm 87,000 years old.
Wow.
G, this is ridiculous, G.
Acute arthritis and you need a hip replacement.
Yeah, man.
Old as hell, bro.
It's some old shit, but they say it's either genetics or I got too much activity in my life and I can't slow down my activity. You know what I mean? I like to be engaged, so dealing with that, man. I got to go to the doctor again tomorrow. They're gonna shoot me over some dope, so I don't feel the pain no more, and then we're gonna decide from there.
Now, do the doctors are they telling you are they telling you that you should that the biking is helpful or harmful to this particular injury?
I wouldn't even discuss all that, bro. I just kept it moving. I just said I got pain. Let's fix the pain. You know what I mean? And that's where we operated from.
Well, I'm saying you do 100 miles a week. And that's significant amount of bike riding. So if that's helping, that's fine. But if it's not, you might want to reconsider that 100 miles a week, sir.
The biking is light, though. It was probably from basketball on the streets and just basketball in general. But, and you got to think, even with a year, I still been hooping. I mean, it's painful, but I just fight through the pain. I got a high pain tolerance. But they, they did an MRI. This is the first time they did an MRI. First time it was just a conversation. It's interesting, right? So I had a lung collapse a long time ago, about 10 years ago, and I go get the MRI for my lung collapse, and the doctor says, "Man, hey, man, you had these polyps on your lungs. You was probably born with this, so you deal with it from that standpoint." Then I go get an MRI, and the doctor said, "Hey, man, look over here. You see this extra bone? You got an extra bone in your body. I don't know what that's from.
Extra bone.
You just got that, yeah.
Okay.
Every time they do something where they scaring me, G, I found
something
new. I'm an alien, fam.
You're not really a real. That's what
I'm
an
alien,
you're not really a real human. You're talking about an extra bone. If the doctor tell you got an extra bone,
it's crazy.
That can't be good news.
But it is what it is, man. I'm gonna get some dope tomorrow. You know what I mean?
All right.
And I'm gonna deal with the pain from there, and I decide from there whether or not I'm gonna let them do some surgery because I really ain't for that doctor like that.
Well, if they think it's something that absolutely has to happen, I would say the sooner the better, brother. The older you get,
only I dictate what absolutely has to happen. So, like I said, if the dope works, we gonna deal with the dope. That's what we gonna do.
Yeah, but you gonna take it for the next 50 years?
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Well, either way, I hope you find the best solution and be able to find some comfort and continue to do your normal activities and live the life that you have become accustomed to living. Anyway, again, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Let's get out to the production studio where we will find the one and only Miss Sonia Escobar, third member of the squad. Sonia, how are you? Good. I'm glad to hear it. What's been going on with you? You got any chronic ailments you want to tell us about? You all good? Oh, okay.
Your cousin.
real
cousin,
good.
You say?
So some real good pain management.
Yeah.
Listen, ain't nothing wrong with that. We is from the earth.
Right.
I put this here.
Big bags.
Take advantage, man. Take advantage. Well, Sonia, I'm glad you're doing well too. I'm glad you got your medicine flowing as well. Appreciate everything that you do for the show. We couldn't possibly do this thing without you. You are the absolute best, man. Nah, thank you. We all right? We pretty. You
go.
You all right? Pretty fair for a square. We'll take that. We accept that. We accept that. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is I Say What I Say. Each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time, we get together right here on the Maze Jackson page, and we discuss issues that are affecting the black community, and along with your help, we try to talk through those things and find some of the best solutions forward. Quick rundown for the show today. We're going to get into a couple of things. One, on a national conversation, black desperation is setting in all across this country. When you talk about economics and finances, we've often been talking about the fact that there were some estimates that said by the year, I think it was some estimates had it at the year 2036 that black people would have a median net worth of $0. But with the COVID-19 pandemic and all the economic ramifications that came from that, there are some estimations that believe that has been at least sped up to at least 10 years, if not to current times right now. And so that desperation is being felt all across the country in our communities. And when you have that type of desperation, you have people who want to take advantage of that desperation. You have people who want to feed on that and kind of steal. And so there's a couple of people that we want to talk about some things that have been going on. There's some couple of different schemes. I won't say scams just yet, right? But some schemes that are going on that people are buying into and want to take part of and say, oh, you give me $100 and I'll get you $700 back next week. And okay, sounds good, right? I saw one, maybe, no, I don't know who told me this, but it was one that said, you give me $100, right? And
I give you $800 back?
No, I said, give me $100, I'll give you $4,000 back. And they said, this ain't no Ponzi scheme.
Oh, we selling crack. We selling cocaine. We selling no Ponzi scheme. We selling cocaine. I saw that.
That's a good one. That's real right there. But there are a lot of schemes going around, and listen, when you're desperate and you're not sure where your next check is going to come from, you aren't sure where your next meal is going to come from, you find yourself willing to take risks that maybe you otherwise would not take. And there are a lot of people who are all too eager to take advantage of that level of desperation. We're going to have that conversation because really that particular conversation impacts almost every other conversation that we're having. Whether you're talking about the presidential election, whether you're talking about the looting and rioting, if you will, whether you're talking about the police brutality situations, the demonstrations that are happening, the demonstrations that are planned and actually not taking place, all those types of things are impacting our everyday lives, and they are a direct derivative of that particular desperation economically.
Which is a direct derivative of policy, right? So
Facts.
This is why we got to have this conversation around politics, and
Facts.
This is where we kind of miss the boat at oftentimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But really what sparked this whole conversation, at least in my mind, I saw a video today, man, of Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yeah.
And he was in Los Angeles, and he was giving out money, which seemed to be on Skid Row, right?
Right.
And the level of desperation in the video was just was heartbreaking, man. You know, he ended up he was getting afraid, so he wanted to get up out of Dodge, and he ended up just throwing the money on the ground, and the people were just scavengers, man. It was just like they were savages trying to get to the money, and it just was it just was sad, man. It
sad
was
to see.
it was heartache, and oftentimes what we don't recognize is that even though that's Skid Row, and we associate that kind of behavior with that kind of desperation.
Sure.
But I think what happens in I don't want to call it regular society, but in let's say in all of our social standards, we all are moving with that level of desperation. We just have different levels of resources, right? And when you push to that level of desperation, you'll do things that you usually wouldn't do. You'll accept things that you usually wouldn't accept.
Absolutely.
It starts to dictate the social norms, right?
Absolutely.
So the other day we was talking about WAP. We made a quick conversation about the song WAP, and we can go on and on down the line, right? Because as hip hop kind of got taken over by the masses, the culture and the messaging changed. Why though? Because that culture and that messaging started getting attached to the dollar amount, and at that point, you don't have any morals anymore. The dollar dictates your moral fiber, and when the dollar dictates your moral fiber, then you absolutely don't have any morals. And I just kind of see that as becoming a social norm. That's the society that we've inherited. But then we want to act with these moral responsibilities, or we want to hold people to these moral standards when actually no one has any morals.
Right.
You're dictated by where the dollar goes, and it's just shameful, man. And I think the more in depth we'll get into this conversation, we'll be able to, like we always say, it's really just one conversation, right? And the more in depth we get into the conversation, we'll be able to funnel it through and associate some of these scams per se, and see how policy dictates that culture. See how policy transforms how we behave. See how the social norm becomes our standard of living. That just scared me for a minute. It sounded like we was on a Spaceship Enterprise. Yeah, man. So I wanted to get into that conversation. I think it's an interesting conversation, bro. So
yeah, no, that's a real conversation, because again, it's about vulnerability, right? It's the desperation that leaves us vulnerable to those types of schemes, those types of concepts. Because listen, if you're thirsty, you have no idea where that next meal is coming from. Every idea sounds plausible. Every idea sounds decent enough to at least give it a shot, to at least try and see what that may or may not look like. And you have, again, so many people who are all too ready and willing, again, because they aren't in a different boat either. Let's be clear about that piece. They aren't in a different boat either. They're also trying to find their way into people's pockets in a way to pad their own pockets, and without any type of sympathy or understanding, or without any connectivity for the fact that, again, are we all on the same team or not? Then it's perfectly reasonable for me to say, I'll just continue to rob these people to pad my own pockets. And you've got a couple of examples of people that we want to mention on that particular piece today.
But even before we do that, let's start local though, right?
Yeah,
the looting downtown, right? Just today I read an article, man, and I forget the title of the article, but it was a passage in the article that kind of confused me.
Sure.
And it was a passage. It was an article about the looting that happened downtown. And there was a passage in the article that said 43 people were arrested down at 43 people were being tried so far for the looting that happened downtown over the last week.
Right.
And they said that none of them were Inglewood residents. They said that they were college students. They said they were ex-felons, and they said they were out-of-work parents. Now that's a direct quote from the article. College students, ex-felons,
right,
and out-of-work parents.
Yeah.
But none were Inglewood residents. Right. But I just thought that was interesting how that was even written, because it wasn't just saying that they wasn't Inglewood residents. It kind of made the juxtaposition that ex-felons, college students, and out-of-work parents don't come from Inglewood. The way it was written, it kind of read like that to me. And that kind of disturbed me, because that's absolutely the population of Inglewood. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Felons, out-of-work parents.
Yeah, it's the exact same population, right? But it just speaks to the level of desperation in our community. So when opportunities happen, even though it happened in Inglewood, when the incident happened in Inglewood, all of those people that they wrote about, all those people that got arrested were not from that area, right? They might have been from surrounding suburban areas. They might have been from other places in the city. But what all of them saw it as was an opportunity to take advantage of chaos in the city, you know what I mean? And they made it so that they can go, get into whatever, the Louis store, the Gucci store, whatever, and they're not using those whatever they come up on when they was doing the looting as a way to enhance their fashion sense. They're using it to sell it to make a profit to survive. And I think that's a conversation we need to have about what's happening with black economics. And if we're talking about black economics, then the real conversation that we got to get to in regards to the electorate or in regards to the next election is who has the black agenda and what's that black agenda look like.
Sure.
And if we don't, and in my opinion, the only conversation around the black agenda is reparations.
Yeah.
You know, so we're not undergirded by any level of capital in our community, right? So we're having a conversation around the post office right now today. When you think about it, well, the post office is the largest employer of black people in all of America, right? And when you think about it, the government is the largest employer of black people in all of America. So for that to be our main source of employment, it throws me that we're not engaged in the conversation of government, because that is our source of income, right? We're represented by 2% of the private sector. So 1 in 5 black jobs are government jobs: firefighter, policeman, teacher, post office. Those are government jobs. That's not the private sector.
No.
Those are the only people that hire you. But you don't pay any attention to government, and that just don't make no goddamn sense,
right?
You know what I mean?
That's how you eat. You should be well informed about that process and what it looks like and who's making those decisions for you. Because again, just put up a chart on the screen here that is, referring to the wealth gap, and we talk about this $117 trillion, right? But 107 of that is in the hands of white households, and then everybody else is just sharing what's left, right? And so you look at the chart and you see how white people are up there, white households up there above 100 trillion, and then you have blacks and Hispanics way down at the bottom.
Yeah, but see, that's not everybody else, and that's why that conversation to Kamala's blackness is important, right? So you see white at the 107 point, right? And then flatness is black and Hispanic.
Yeah,
and there's a whole bunch of people in between.
Oh, you got Indians, you got Asians,
you got Jamaicans,
you got Africans,
you got all that in between that, right? But at the very bottom of that list is us and Hispanics. There's a disparity there that we need to talk about, which is in essence represents the conversation around Kamala's blackness. Well, nobody can really argue that Kamala's black, right? But there's a difference between being black from the diaspora and being black from America.
Sure.
There's an absolute difference.
The experience is completely different.
The experience is different, but not only is the experience different, but the level of wealth that this country owes us is shaped in that lineage. You understand what I'm saying? The level of wealth that this country has is also shaped in that lineage, right? So if you're not part of that experience and you're not a part of that suffrage, you have a very different experience, right? So if everybody else is in the middle and Hispanics and African Americans are at the bottom and that's flat, well, that resonates in different ways, right? What kind of if your income is flat, or if your net worth is flat, what kind of schooling do you have? Right. What kind of healthcare do you have access to? Right. What kind of food choices do you have access to?
Exactly.
Right. Your whole standard of living is substandard.
It is.
Right. And then out of that emerges this new group, and it's not even really a new group, but it's people that's playing on that poverty to say, hey man, I represent you. But no, you don't represent me. You've had a very different experience because your wealth was never legislated. Right. You showed up here in 1965, or after 1965, right? Because everybody else in between that black and white group showed up here after 1965. Because before that, the level of immigration in America was like right at the decimal point. It was null and void. It wasn't here, right? So when you show up after 1965, but you stay claiming our community as being part of our community, or leverage our culture to get you the way you get to, we still don't reap the benefits.
And then two things happen from that, right? You have the tangible things that are clear to see in terms of the economics, the violence, those types of things. But there's also the intangible things, those type of feelings that start to develop from those other cultures that say, oh, well, what's wrong with these black people, right? I've been in this country 2 weeks, I got a job. I've been in this country for a year. I done got me started a business. I done got me a degree. You know what I mean? And so they can't understand it because the experience isn't the same. But that is then where you get people like Akon saying, oh, black people got to get over slavery.
Right. But shout out to Alvin Norton online in the comments. He said she didn't experience slavery, Jim Crow, war, drugs, redlining, etc. And all of that impacts our lives. All of that impacts our livelihood. I often talk about my grandfather's house. My grandfather was very lucky to be a World War II veteran and to come home and get the GI Bill. Right. He built a house on 95th and Prairie. Right. That house probably cost, I don't know, $10,000 at the time. But that house has served as an anchor point for everybody in my entire family. Right? Without that house, we don't become a stable family. So how many black GIs didn't get that? How many grandfathers don't have that home? How many families don't have that stability? No one has that stabilization mark, right? And then it creates dysfunction throughout the rest of the family, right?
Absolutely.
So most of the wealth and all of America's wealth is legislated, but then once it's legislated, how does it get transferred? It gets passed down generation to generation. We always talk about building generational wealth. You hear these like colloquialism, we got to build generational wealth, but nobody talks about generational poverty because they transferred the same goddamn way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's we only have one conversation going upward as if the downward spiral doesn't happen, and that's insanity. It does happen.
It absolutely happens. It's a very, very real thing. We're going to continue this conversation. We're going to get into that and more. If you're just tuning in, this is I Said What I Said. Tucson Warner, Herb Howard here with you till 3 o'clock. We'll be right back after this.
You figured out how to put them joints up there now, or you just got lucky?
You talking about the
Statistics?
the charts and stuff? Yeah, no, we just uploaded them into there. And so now, so like you look on this, we got all of these different things I can just throw up. So these charts, picture of me, picture of you, promo for the show. Let's go.
So let's do that one next. Let's
All right, cool.
move that into the
Let me
conversation.
preview it. Dun, dun, dun. This one right here? All right, cool. I gotta ask you something because I still can't get this up on the thing. From the screen to the screen. Showing me a preview thing. Nah, you good. You see what I'm saying? Not this iPad. Can't get this one to actually show the live thing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Here.
Show me a preview or something.
So let's go to live. Here. Let's make sure we're in the new one.
Oh man.
Bam. Swipe left. There go your comment.
Smarter than the average bear, I'm telling you.
Y'all didn't happen to see
Or what?
Porsche key? Like the part that
No.
comes out.
My body comes out.
You know, the key part.
Yeah.
I look down here.
If you don't see it, it's.
I ain't happened to see it, but I hope you look.
No,
for
it ain't gonna be all up under there.
It might be shit.
No.
Two in his hip replacement can't see it, but I might. Just fucking with you, good brother. No, it ain't down there. So we solid. Now we all good. What's happening, good people? Out there on the Facebook page, appreciate y'all for tuning in. I couldn't see the comments, so that's why I was like, dang, I want to be able to see.
Man, drop them stars, y'all. I'm trying to keep count of the people who drop stars. Shout out to Carmen Coburn for the 50 stars. Shout out to Brian Lamont for the 50 stars. We appreciate y'all.
I know who's. Marvin, appreciate the stars. Hassan, appreciate it. Patar, what's up, brother? Dude.
Salute to Hassan with the 100 stars.
We greatly appreciate the support, man. Every single star y'all send us is really helping us to continue to develop this show.
Shout out to Tiger for the 810 stars.
Tiger, we appreciate it. We appreciate it. Everything y'all do, all of y'all support for the show is just helping us continue to build up the studio, continue to get the things that we need. Whether we're talking about the mics, the speakers, the banners, all those types of things are truly helping us out. We greatly appreciate you all support. It means the world to us. So thank you so very much. Most importantly, thank y'all for listening. Good brother Salim is in the building. What's up, Salim? Yeah, so we truly appreciate y'all and support too. I'm finna hop back, go back live if you ready to roll.
Let's get it.
Cool. Let me wet my beak.
What's that about? Not the Porsche.
Stupid.
Adrian Anderson, shout out to Adrian for the 500 stars. We appreciate you. Catrice for the 50 stars. We appreciate you.
What's going on, good people? Welcome back into I Said What I Said. We are live from the What's in It for the Black People studios on the Maze Jackson page. My name is Herb Howard. My esteemed co-host is the one and only good brother, Mr. Tucson Warner. This is I Said What I Said each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. We get together right here. We discuss issues impacting the black community, how those things are impacting us as individuals, but also how they impact us as a collective. And with your help, we try and talk through some things and find some real solutions to how we can overcome those things. Again, as individuals, but more importantly as a collective. Again, this is an absolutely interactive conversation. We want you to be a part of the discussion. This is not just about Tucson and myself talking at you all. We don't think that we have all of the answers. We think we got some pretty good ones, though. But we don't think we got all the answers, and so we want your help. We want your input in the discussion. So if you want to leave comments on the Facebook page, you can do so that way as well. If you want to call in, feel free to do so. The telephone number here is 872-259-7474, 872-259-7474. As always, your input is valued and appreciated. If you have not done so, please take a quick moment to share this conversation. I'm trying to bring in as many like-minded individuals as possible to the conversation. And please continue to support with the Gold Stars. You click that Gold Star down at the bottom of your screen, and you can support the show that way as well. We greatly, greatly appreciate each and every one of you all for tuning in. We opened the conversation just saying hello. We laughed a little bit about Tu, because Tu just had his 44th birthday, but his hip is 74. So
yeah, my whole body's like 80. I'm living dog years. I'm definitely living dog years. You understand me? But that means I lived a good life.
Yeah, you lived a good life. That's right. That's right.
I'd rather live like a lion for a day than a lamb for forever. You understand?
Right? Let's get to it.
It is what it is.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So we opened the show talking about those things as well. And then we got into a conversation about black desperation in terms of economics nationally and how that particular state is impacting all of our lives and every single aspect of our lives. Even this 2020 election, which we're going to get into, we're also going to have a conversation about what those economics look like in terms of the disparity between people who just live right here in the same country, right? Same country, same president, same government, all that. But the wealth gap is, it's been alarming. But at this point, it's reached a point of desperation. And if we don't change it, we're looking at annihilation.
I don't think we know how in-depth those differences are.
Sure.
Right? And I don't even think we even know how many different ethnic groups there are in America, to be honest with you, right? Most of us kind of look at it as like, well, black, white, Mexicans. It just is what it is, right?
Sure.
But it's deeper than that. And there's different implications to that. So what we got up now is another chart. And this is a chart from the U.S. Census Bureau, but it's from 2013 to 2015, right? So we got to understand that in the last 5 years, we had
the last 5 months.
Right. We've had a very interesting turn of events. So this isn't even standard now. This is different even today. It's changing rapidly, but from 2013 to 2015, you see the breakdowns, right? You see Jewish Americans at the top with 129, Indian Americans, that's 105, that's $100,000 total household income, right? But now, Indian American is interesting, right? Sure. Because that's half of Kamala Harris's lineage, right? Now, when you get to the depths of the Kamala Harris story, what you realize that she's from a specific group in India, which is the Brahmin Indian group, which is like the uber wealthy group of Indians. Right. So even this number is probably very different from her. So just give us some understanding of her experience, her possible experience, right? She came to this country in 1960. Her mother was like a cancer surgeon or something like that. Imagine that. That's not a regular black child in 1960. You're not having a black
or 2020
or 2020 for that matter, right? You're right. But we can go down the line. Filipinos, Sri Lankan. How many of those? It's like 4 of those in all of total of America. They still got more money than us. You know what I mean? So we can go just down the line.
We're from Sri Lanka.
Right. We go down the line. Average American, 50,000. Right? But then you get to the Hispanics and Latinos, 43,000. Then you get to us, African Americans, at 35,000. Right? And what's happening in that other chart, what you see is that our group is flat. Our group is flat. It's not moving. There's no movement there, right? But wealth is calcifying in America. So it's rising upward. The bottom is the bottom, and it's going to stay the bottom, but the wealth of it, the rest of it is rising upward. So all these other numbers then went up, while ours is staying flat or going down, right? Because what I just mentioned earlier, we are employed by the government if we're employed, right? We talk about moving into this 4th industrial revolution. As that takes place, there's no need for labor, right? Most of our whole economy is based in labor, right? Truck driving, cleaning up something, saying, "Can I help you?" It just goes down the line. So as those jobs dissipate, what happens to our community, right? And what we're seeing, it ain't even a question, though. That's the problem, right? We keep asking the question, like, what happens to our community? But it's not a question.
No.
We know what happens to our community, right? You find alternative ways to make capital.
Absolutely, you do.
Right? And that's exactly what happened. That's what happened. That's what happens in Parkway. That's what's happening in Inglewood. So I had this conversation. I sat down with a group of elders and some other young folks. I don't want to say young because I ain't young, but some elders and some middle-aged people talking about the problem of violence in Chicago yesterday.
Sure.
And it was basically the religious community, pseudo-political community. I say pseudo, and I mean that.
Yeah,
and a pseudo-activist community.
No,
I mean
real.
that as well.
That's
you
real.
know what I mean?
That's real.
And everybody kind of came to the table with these laid out speeches and bullshit.
Of course.
Right? So I stopped the conversation. I said, hey, I just got a quick question. Right?
Right.
Why do you think the violence is happening? Why do you think the violence is taking place?
And what was the general consensus?
And I was like, let's everybody just take 1 minute to respond to that if you can. Nobody wanted to do that. Mm-hmm. So it was like 3 people that responded, and one of them hit the Jesus button, right? Another one hit the parent button. Another one hit the they stupid button. I want to kind of dispel all of that shit.
Right.
Right? When we got to be real. I'm from the hood. You from the hood. Most of us are from the hood in some capacity.
Jesus, parenting, and stupidity are the 3 reasons.
Yeah, that's
I'm with
roughly
you.
right.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But what we understand is that I grew up in the crack era, right? Mm-hmm. So poverty kind of got masked over by the way the drugs was moving in our community, right? You could eat every day. You still had a poverty mindset. You could buy a car with rims.
Economics were undergirded by the black market.
You in the game, right? Well, that don't exist no more. You know all the crackheads in your community, so that means ain't nobody getting rich off crack because there's only like 2 of them in each community. Maybe let's say we're gonna max out at 10 because you legitimately are maxing out at 10. You know what I mean? So ain't nobody getting rich off that no more. So the new alternative ways are just that you're seeing them get created. So you see the scammers pop up. That's a new thing in Chicago, right? Essentially, but also, we don't cognitively look at it like this. But I explained it last week. The whole rap beef murder thing is a culture that they're selling online.
Oh yeah.
So the more people die, the more access to capital they have because it generates more and more interest, right? So killing people has become a hustle. It's like a scam. I get paid for murdering people.
It's a part of the business.
It's a part of the narrative for me to sell, right? So we just the last month, 2 months, everybody and their mom been trying to get you to get into a Susu fund.
Oh yeah.
Right? Just multi-level marketing. And if you know anything about multi-level marketing, at the end of that, somebody ass gonna lose. It just is what it is.
Absolutely. There's an expiration date on that. That thing can only get so big, right? And if you don't know what Tu's referring to, somebody has probably hit your phone, text you, called you, talked to you, stopped you in the hallway and said, hey, I'll tell you about this little opportunity we got going on. You give me $100 by next week or the week after, I'll give you $700. And it's like, wait, what? Like, and that makes sense to me. How, right? And then what they can do is they can point to somebody who has already gotten their money back. Oh, my cousin got her $500 last week, or my brother got his $600 this week. And so, okay, cool. You're like, well, shit is pretty tight. I'm willing to gamble maybe my last $100 because I don't know where the next $100 coming from anyway. So I gamble my last $100 just to hope it's something come back. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But as you said, somebody's gonna end up short every single time.
Yeah, so but it's every single time.
Every
it's a guaranteed loss. Someone's gonna lose, right?
It's mad. You ain't put enough for everybody to get $800 back.
But part of the context of this conversation is that we won't be honest about our levels of poverty, right? We just won't be. So Cherie just chimed in and said they stealing catalytic converters all around the city. Well, what's that about? That's about motherfuckers stealing that shit to take it for the metal. They scrapping it.
Money.
Like, that's how bad it is out here.
The desperation is real.
So, but we buy into these damn pipe dreams because it looks like hope. Right? And part of the conversation we wanted to have today is like talk about some of the scams that have went national. And not only if they went national, but these people got elevated as leaders in our communities.
Right.
And that's kind of the problem. Like, we're listening to con men as our answer.
Yeah.
Right? We used to have a conversation about black celebrity, how they need to kind of step away from the fold of politics because they really don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But it's really just another version of the scam. If this is where the culture is going and this is where the culture is interested, then I got to play over here because otherwise I'm not going to be able to make no capital.
It's not really different from any other point in our community. Whether you talk about going back to the crack era or whatever, right? Because I've been able to have some success in the drug game, that don't really make me a fucking leader of the community, right? I've got some bread and I might be able to fund the uniforms for the football team or the cheerleading team. I may be able to throw the house picnic, the block party, whatever it may be. That's cool, but that don't really mean I should be in a position of leadership for the direction in which this community should go. But because I got bread, everybody's gonna listen to me. Everybody's gonna follow me. It's the same way right now. If I didn't crack 1,000 cars this year and my bread is good, people gonna believe me. They think I'm successful. They want to follow me. If I'm scamming 1 million people and I've got bread, they're gonna follow me because they think I am successful. Never mind, I don't know shit. Never mind, I'm not a leader in any way, shape, or form. No capacity at all. But because I have something that everybody aspires to have, but very few people actually have, you are going to follow me. You're going to listen to me. What I have to say is relevant if for no other reason than I got some bread.
Yeah, but that's why morality lies. right?
Yeah.
Our morality is on the sliding scale of what is going to pay and what's not going to pay.
Yeah.
Right, which in turn leaves us in the same position all the time. Right, and it's a poverty state. It's a lack mind state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's a poverty mind state. Right, and it's going to keep us there because that's just how the game goes. You know what I mean? But some of the people, man, we did a little bit of research and we wanted to talk about Jay Morrison. That's one guy, right? He started the Tulsa Real Estate Fund.
Right.
And for a minute, this was like a big deal. Everybody was kind of talking about this conversation. It was like crowdfunding for real estate.
Right.
And this guy has a presentation where, you know, he's in nice suits all the time.
Yeah.
He's speaking my brother, you know, the
Right.
con guy,
yeah.
right? We're going to do this. Handsome dude. You
Talk
know what
that
I'm saying?
talk.
Talk
Yeah.
that talk.
Yeah.
Articulate, all that, right? And I'm going to do this, and we're going to buy all this real estate. We're going to reinvest in the community, and we're going to XYZ, I'm going to sell you this hopeful dream, right? And there was a few people that came out against him, like, logically, this just doesn't make sense. People who really get money off the real estate game who understand how those markets work, and I don't, so I'm not the authority on that, right? But they was like, man, this is not, I just don't see it. It's just not logical. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but it just, this don't make no goddamn sense.
No.
Right? So but he's still pushing. He's doing photo shoots. He's on big time magazine covers, right? He's got a house in Atlanta, this XYZ acres, right?
Yeah.
On social media, they call him King J, and on his wife is King, whatever her name, Queen, whatever her name is, right?
Right.
The other day, well, not even the other day, well, over the last month, there's been conversations coming about how bad he scammed people out of bread.
Sure.
So there's another cat out of Philly who came out recently and said, man, he stole $100,000 from me. You know what I mean? And here's how he stole $100,000. I mean, $100,000. And he was going into detail about his experience in dealing with Jay Morrison, right? Now, keep in mind, this is Jay Morrison ain't local. This ain't no little dude,
This
right?
is national,
He was
international.
on the, we was all talking about the Revolt Summit a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Jay Morrison was a guest at the Revolt Summit. He was on them stages talking to y'all.
Absolutely.
So was T.I., who we was chatting clearing for.
Absolutely.
And I'm not taking nothing away from none of them people, but
Sure.
I want us to understand from the lens of the people that we are looking to for leadership, they're robbing you blind, right? So the guy from Philly was giving his experience about the Jay Morrison thing. He's like, he did a deal with him. They was going to do an event in Las Vegas. The dude said, hey, I'll come with 100,000. You come with 100,000. Here's what we're going to do. Jay is agreeing.
Yeah, we good.
He was, well, look, we need to put it in my company's name because my company has the brand.
Right.
Everybody knows me.
Right.
It's an established, trusted brand.
Right.
Grow with me.
It makes marketing sense.
It makes marketing sense. My man gives him 100, like, let's rock. Right? So then they come, the dude was like, let's do a photo shoot. We're going to do it at my house. My man from Philly comes to the man's crib. They can't even go inside the house. They got to take photos in the foyer. Like he said, man, people can't even go to the bathroom. They pissing in the lawn. Like, it don't even make sense. He's like, logically, I'm confused.
Like, ain't this your spot or
Ain't
not?
this your spot, right? So lo and behold, he's in his mind, he's like, I'm getting kind of skeptical, but he's such a big name, it's such a big brand, I still want to believe it.
Right.
He said they go out that night to get something to eat, something that Jay Morrison suggested.
Sure.
Jay Morrison brings his whole crew of people. He says like 10 people there.
Sure.
Right? He said they eating or whatever. He said he gets up to use the bathroom.
And never comes back.
He comes back. No, this is the dude from Philly. The dude from Philly gets up to use the bathroom. He comes back. Jay Morrison and his business partner gone. But it's still a couple of people from their group there. Right. But now they're playing I thought Jay was gonna pay for this car.
Right.
And my man said they had to all eddy up money at the table because it was like a 15, like a couple $1,000 bill.
Easy.
Right? So he says he gave them like $3,000. He was still short on the bill, but he's paying for everything, right? A couple weeks before the event comes, he says how he's not liking how this dude is doing business, and he decides to pull out. He don't return his money. They didn't offer like $100,000 gift reward that he was supposed to be, at least partnering in the payment of.
Right.
He don't offer that up.
Right.
It's all this stuff is transpired, and my man from Philly is just getting worked over for like $150,000. And these are the guys that are giving us hope for the future for Black economics, right? And it is not. This is not a new thing. So when I saw the Tekashi video where he was throwing the money out to the homeless people, and I saw that level of savagery and desperation, it really it's the same thing in a suit and tie. It's the same behavior in a suit and tie, right? There is no morality no more. Capitalism is your God.
Yeah.
That's why I always argue that part of this conversation has to be spiritual. Even though we do need an economic uprise, part of this shit has to be spiritual. We're from a place of substantial lack. And if it's only capitalism, you'll never bond and grow together. It'll always be savagery.
Right. I think that, there's no structure in any game no more, right? Whether you talk about the streets, whether you talk about, you know, the upper echelon levels of economics or whatever it may be, any of these types of schemes, any of these types of programs that are being run, there's no honor even amongst thieves, right? And so at least, if nothing else, right, back in the day, you knew you take somebody for 100 G's, you better watch your back every day of the rest of your life. Like, you're not gonna just take 100 G's from me. Like, that's just that wasn't gonna happen. But now, no structure, no rules, right? And nobody else is gonna hold you accountable. So it used to be, once your name was bad out here, right? And I heard you took my man from Philly for 100 G's. Even though I live in New York or I live in Detroit, you ain't finna come up here and run that same motherfucking game. Now, because there's no structure like that, because there's no sense of unity, no sense of a collective identity, I can run this game in Philly, I can run this thing in Oakland, I can run this thing in Atlanta, and nobody's gonna check me on it, right? Because again, as long as I keep up this persona of who people think I am, as long as I can got just enough money to put on this, you know, expensive suit, or I got a nice little watch, or I'm driving a nice little car, or I can, you know, parade around in front of these little houses or whatever, then people still believe that I'm successful. They want to be attached to me. People want to run with a winner. Even if I'm smoking them, they want to run with a winner, and they'll give me that opportunity. They'll open their checkbook just that once, and that's all I need.
But just to the point you made, I said what sparked this conversation was the video of Tekashi 6ix9ine throwing out money in LA on the homeless road bill, right?
Mm-hmm.
But see, here's another part of that Tekashi conversation that we don't have either, right? Our community empowered Tekashi.
Oh yeah.
Right? Our community gave him the
street cred.
The street cred to get out and call black women bitches. Gave him the street cred to come to Chicago and say fuck Parkway. Gave him the street cred to say I'm a gangster.
Right.
I'm a cripple. Whatever the fuck he was claiming he was going to be. He is, right? For that very same reason. Right? He had never identified with the rules and codes of that culture, but you gave him that pass. Why did you give him that pass? Because you don't have any morality. That shit don't really mean nothing to you. It's all about capital and greed.
You're not rooted or grounded in anything.
You're not rooted or grounded in anything.
So you flow with the wind. So if Tekashi 6ix9ine is the you know, the thing of the day, then that's what I'm rolling with.
But part of the problem here is, again, right, so we come to this, somebody online said that's not a new thing, scamming or taking advantage of people who don't have the knowledge. I don't disagree. It's not a new thing, right?
No.
But here's the reality, right? So I don't want to say the reality. I always talk about the conversation I had with my old head, and he said black people were the moral compass of America, right? And the reason they were the moral compass of America is because they had nothing else to offer. I agree with y'all. I agree. It's not a new thing. This is what America is, right? But if we're operating from a place of nothingness, we can't run the scam on each other. We can't keep running the scam on just our community, right? Because then you're just taking advantage of the weak and making them weaker. It's a very dumb scam, one, because you can't. It's like going to the store and stealing bubble gum and going to jail instead of going to the bank and stealing $1 million. Make the right goddamn decision. If you're gonna steal from the motherfuckers who got it.
Right.
That's the conversation I'm making. Right. So, and that's where we're losing because we're disconnected as a group. Right. And then we're losing because we don't know shit. Right. And we allow that shit to be the barometer of success.
You allow it. Again, I think it's the same conversation whether you're talking about Jay Morrison or whether you're talking about Tekashi 6ix9ine. It's the same conversation. Nobody would have allowed this motherfucker to move the way he's moving at a previous time in our history. But because there's no connectivity, there's no sense of a collective identity, then he can just do whatever he wants. You just snitched on 100 motherfuckers and got all these people locked up, right? For some shit that you did, for some shit that you was involved in. You was the leader of that whole motherfucking crew. You got all these people locked up, snitched on all of them. And then our culture, our community allowed your ass to walk back out those walls and reassimilate yourself back into our culture.
But it's also our culture who gave you the wherewithal to be a part of it in the first place.
In the first place.
You should have never been allowed to be in our culture doing the shit you was doing. But the shit you was doing was generate capital, so it made it okay.
That's it.
Right? And it's the same conversation that's happening in fucking Parkway right now. It don't matter if you white, Mexican, or got blue hair or black hair. It's the same goddamn conversation. There are no rules because whoever has the capital makes the goddamn rules. Which means there are no fucking rules.
There are no fucking rules.
There are no rules.
Which is again how you can get statistics to look like the ones when we talk about the economics. Just the same, right? You can't get those type of statistics coming unless there is a place where if I'm already in control of the bread, then I control the rules. It ain't no fucking rules. I'm already in first place. The rules are whatever the hell I say the rules are, right? And so I change the rules for me. Whenever I need to change the rules for me, I change the rules for me. And so if I'm already in the league, then that league is only going to grow further and further and further. We're not going to close that gap on our own, right? It's not going to happen that way because the people who are empowered are not going to allow themselves to lose that power or lose that economic control for any reason at all. And it's the same thing that why I often make the comparison, like you see, like in the NFL, the team that had the worst season last year, they're going to get the first pick, right? Because what you're trying to do is bring some equity to it. You're trying to balance this thing out. You're trying to give them a chance to get back to a space where they're able to compete. But in society, it doesn't work that way. If I'm in the lead, if I'm in first place, I'm getting the first pick next year too. I'm making the rules for next season too, and I'm going to continue to kick your ass. And it comes back to the question that you raise all the time. Can you whoop my ass though? And unfortunately, we're trying to whoop their ass in a game that we don't even control. We don't even control that game. We're trying to whoop their ass in that game. That's fucking asinine.
But we're not trying to whoop their ass.
Aren't we?
No, we're not.
We're trying to assimilate
to
them, right?
That's the problem. We're just trying to join the team. That's the problem, right? And
Good
their
point.
team only sustains because they have ownership of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Their team, their style of operation only works because they lead the pack with what they've done without integrity, right? They've stolen people from Africa. They put them to work under duress.
Yeah.
They've stolen from everybody, right? So now
ain't no rules.
Ain't no rules.
No morality.
Right? But that empowered them,
Right.
right? But you cannot use fire to quell another fire.
Right.
You got to throw water on the goddamn fire. Right? You
Right.
got to use a different strategy to win, which is always why I always bring in the conversation of spirituality. That has to be part of the context of how we move the ball forward. It has to be. We have to have a level of love and unity within our community to move forward because we don't have the economic power to just buy into the game.
Sure.
We have to have a belief in the morality and a level of connectivity with each other to say, fuck all that. This is my brother. I'm with my brother.
We must.
And we're going to ride till we both get to the next level.
We must.
Because if we don't, whenever the dollar comes into play, and it will come into play, you become a savage even against your brother. And you cannot grow, which is why motherfuckers is legitimately on rap records saying, I'm from 63rd and not from 65th.
Right.
As if that's a different fucking place.
Right.
It's not.
It's not.
But it's exactly how you breed that culture.
Your experience is exactly the same.
Exactly the same.
Your experience is exactly the same, but we treat it differently. If you are just tuning in, this is I Said What I Said. Each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we get together right here with you, 1 p.m. Central Time, to discuss issues that are impacting the black community. My name is Herb Howard. His name is Toussaint Warner. We are live on the Mace Jackson Facebook page. Thank you all so much for choosing to be a part of this discussion. It means a great deal to us that you all are here. Continue to leave your comments. We'll read through as many of them as possible. If you want to join the conversation, the phone lines are now open. 872-259-7474. 872-259-7474. As always, your input is valued. It is certainly appreciated. I continue to see you guys sending in those stars. Tua's keeping the list of that as well. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the efforts of everything that we got going on right here. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Tua.
Shout out to Kang, shout out to Nicole, Marvin Bell, DB for 4,400 stars. We appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
Thank y'all so very, very, very much. We truly, truly appreciate it. I mentioned the comment earlier, and I saw Deborah leave a comment. She was saying, I was saying that people want to play with the winner. And she said, I agree with that. But the problem is, who do we define as winners, right? Who do we look at as winners? And it's the conversation that you often have with anybody who's assimilated any semblance of economic success, right? Then they're the winners, right? Even though they might not be shit morally.
So the young boy just got shot downtown, the FBG Duck.
FBG Duck,
right? So there's rumors circulating in the streets that he had $40 million or something when he died. And I don't know if that's true.
I'm sure it's not.
Right. But I would argue that he had a couple million.
Okay.
I definitely argue that point, right?
Okay.
So, but it's one quick look through his Instagram page, and I wouldn't want no parts of his lifestyle. Right? He definitely got a couple million. I'm assuming. I'm under the assumption that he should be able to. I would assume he could amass a couple $1 million with the kind of following he had, right? But his lifestyle is not appealing to me at all
in any way, shape, or form.
And then you can start to see his family because there's his connectivity through his Instagram. I saw his mama's lifestyle. I don't want no part of that shit. So really, what defines value, right? That didn't move me in that way,
right?
You know what I mean? So she's right. What defines winning?
Right. It's tough to say, right? Because you take somebody like him off 63rd Street. And then he gets murdered on the most expensive block in the city of Chicago, right? And that interesting juxtaposition right there is telling for me, right?
Well, see, even let's go back to that chart, that first chart with the white guy, with the white. It was all the way up. Right? The white wealth level was all the way up. The black and Hispanic wealth level was all the way down. It was flat, right? So let's think about that. His experience came up out of a flat experience. So his exposure and his education was minimal. So even when he got to a lot of money, all he did was become a slave to that white upper echelon. 100%. And only a slave in regards to their brand concepts.
100%.
Right? He didn't like the lifestyle. He didn't like the experience because he still lived a very Parkway lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
Right? But he wanted to live a Parkway lifestyle with brand representation of downtown.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So even though you got the quote unquote the capital, because the capital does what? It gives you what?
Validation.
Not even just validation, but what does money mean in America? It means freedom.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
It legitimately means freedom, right? And even with all that assumed freedom, he decided to live in a prison.
Yeah.
He decided to live in a prison because his expectation was based on prison culture.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So even though you've been able to rise socioeconomically speaking, right, to coming from poverty on 63rd Street to now you have amassed some semblance of economic success in this particular country, but you can't get away from that. And so what happens is, if once I go down on Oak Street to shop at all these expensive stores, I need everybody back on 63rd to know that I'm here, right? So look where I'm at. Never mind that half the city want to fucking kill me, right? Look where I'm at. Y'all ain't gonna come down here bullshit. We'll come right down there and kill your ass on the most. I don't give a fuck about Oak Street. I don't know shit about it. Not me, but I'm saying the people that's coming. You know what I'm saying? They don't give a fuck about
But even
that
why would they come down to Oak Street and kill him now when they probably wouldn't have came down to Oak Street to kill him, let's say 10 years ago? Why do you think that would happen?
Don't know.
Because poverty is getting more and more aggressive. And you get more and more savage behind it, right? You take food away from a dog for a week and see how that damn dog respond to you.
Big facts.
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
So that flat number that we're looking at right now, how long has that been? Right? So we often always harken back to our history as just black people when we have open dialogue. We don't really go past the goddamn 60s when we talk about history.
Facts.
Right? But before that was irrational levels of poverty, right? Irrational levels and unimaginable levels of desperation, right? But in the 60s, they propped your ass up. They propped those families up. They undergirded them with policy that created the only level of wealth that our community has ever seen, right? Ever. Right? So now you get a little bit of comfort. If you was bought here in this level of desperation and you adjusted mentally, it'd probably be different. But if you was bought in this level of poverty adjusted, and then you got some undergirding of wealth, those next generations that come behind that who are losing less, the morality is very different because they ain't experienced that irrational level.
No, it's unless
so now it's like fuck everything,
right? If you haven't actually lived that experience, it's hard to understand, right? And like you said, we're not talking about that long ago, right? We're talking about something that happened in the 60s, things that changed in the 60s that allowed then that generation coming after that to be able to amass some semblance of wealth, right? My mother and my uncle used to pick and choose who could go to school, and my uncle never really wanted to go anyway. My mama always wanted to go, but they had to pick and choose because there was one pair of shoes, right? You can go or I can go. Ain't nobody going barefoot, right? And so that was their reality. And so my uncle would wait after school, wait for her to come home. You need to come home. I need the shoes because I'm finna run the streets now. You know what I'm saying? And so like you don't if that's not your experience, right? You can't quite understand that. You can't quite comprehend that. And then you also can't understand the decisions that are made for how somebody chooses to come up out of that, how they choose to try and elevate themselves out of that particular circumstance. You can't understand it, you can't empathize with it, and so therefore you don't show them any mercy or understanding for the decision that they make. You continue to look down upon them and say, oh, why y'all down here breaking glass? Fuck this glass. I ain't 8. You know what I'm saying? I don't really care nothing about that, right? But to see that the leaders in my city, the mayor, the superintendent of police, these preachers and clergy, all y'all care more about this glass than y'all care about me and what we're dealing with down here in our neighborhood. Fuck y'all.
So I want to get to this quick comment from James Moore, right? James Moore says they don't give a damn about his death. He was just another gang-banging drug dealer turned rapper that got killed. Nothing to investigate. He was a human being, though, James. But his was really deep about this. This is part of the context.
James ain't wrong. They don't care.
But no, here's part of the context of the conversation. We don't care either. right? But here's what I want to get to. I ain't talking about him being a gangbanger or a drug dealer.
No, we haven't.
Right? I'm talking about the energy and the frequency that all of us are operating on that creates the same kind of behavior sets. It don't matter if your ass a gangbanger, drug dealer, or you work for the goddamn post office.
Same shit.
You think the fucking same. Which is why we are in the positions that we always in. Because you think the fucking same. You have the same exact value set as that gang-banging, drug dealer motherfucker that you say nobody don't care about. You got the same mindset. You're operating on the very same frequency. Your post office check, what do you do with that shit? What are you investing in? Are you investing in the future of education? No. You don't give a fuck about that.
No.
You want a Gucci belt too. You don't give a fuck about that.
It's true.
And we got to stop telling lies to each other about how we really operating out here, right?
Be for real.
You're not better than matter of fact, he was better than you because he really figured out how to master that system and get to the goal better than you did. And I'm not talking to James specifically, but I'm talking about everybody who works with that mindset.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we can't look down upon him, but that's part of the conversation. Class is part of the conversation that we must address, specifically in our community, which is why I always talk about that spirituality and that unity and all that shit. Because class don't exist in our community.
No.
It's an illusion in our motherfucking minds.
Right.
Right? My brother-in-law has a $1.5 million house. This is true shit. I can walk to his $1.5 million house from my $200,000 house.
Right. Varying degrees of poor.
Right? The same corner store serves us both. People get shot on his block and my block.
Right.
What the fuck is the difference?
Right. There is none.
It's no fucking difference.
Right.
It's an illusion.
Right.
And we all are buying into the goddamn lie.
Right. But also, I think that we are unwilling to admit our own level of savagery in some way, shape, or form. And so we can look at these younger generations and say, oh, they savages. Or we can listen to them call themselves savages or whatever else it may be. But we don't see that same type of behavior or that same type of mindset in our own self, right? We see that kind of shit too, right? And you talk about, people that we deem to be successful at these highest levels. Well, I don't care if you're talking about drug dealers or you're talking about Jeff Bezos, right? You're talking about savage, right? You're talking about putting a whole lot of people in the poorhouse when you talk about what Amazon is doing, right? And I'm again, the rules are the rules, the game is the game. You can play it to the best of your ability. I'm not here to make an indictment on that particular piece, but let's be very fucking clear about what's happening here. The level of savagery is actually, the level ain't the same. The level is actually greater in that realm, but the mindset and the behavior is absolutely the same.
Same exact mindset and behavior, right? And what happens is the system itself sows these seeds of division, right? It creates this construct of tribalism where we all are fighting for our tribe to survive. The problem with our community is that we don't really understand ourselves as being one tribe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No,
but we have a level of division within even our one tribe from the outskirts. So they leverage all of that shit, which kind of brings us to the conversation of Kamala, which kind of brings us to the conversation of the disconnect between black men and black women, which kind of brings us to the conversation of the disconnect between brothers on Parkway and brothers on, Bronzeville. It's all the same goddamn shit, right?
Same thing.
It's all the same shit. I heard something today, man, that said, I always talk about how the country is broken up 50-50, right?
Sure.
50% of white people gonna vote Republican, everybody else votes Democrat, right? And that latter 50% of everybody else, the black populace is the largest populace in that voting block, right? So that's why we have power. That's why I was talking that voting down ballot shit. Now I understand that that's a risky ask, right? It's a risky ask, but it's a risky ask that might yield real results. Right, so it's a different opportunity. But part of that conversation, I heard this the other day, and it was interesting to me. They said that the white man makes $1 out of every dollar. Right, he makes the full dollar out of every dollar. The white woman makes 74 cents out of every dollar. Right, the black woman makes, I think they said 68 cents out of every dollar. Right. Now, juxtapose the prison population, they say the black male only makes like 51% out of every dollar.
Yeah, that's real.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's real.
Now, but here's an even greater dynamic. Because the white family still exists in a certain kind of way, they're still getting married, they making $1.74 out of every $2.
Right.
The black family don't really kind of exist. So the black woman's 68 cent is her 68 cent.
Right.
The black man's 50 whatever the fuck cent is his 51 fucking cent.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So when you start looking at how did the numbers turn out for the presidential election, Hillary versus Trump, right?
Right.
Hillary won every fucking category.
Oh yeah.
Except for who? White women.
White women?
White women. White women.
You had me beat on that,
right?
one, brother.
But white women will sell your ass on feminism. They'll sell your ass on all this other shit that exists. But when it come down to the money and it come down to securing my family, I'm rolling with my man.
Period.
But then you start to hear these conversations in our community. If you say, hey, I'm not with Kamala, then you a man-hating motherfucker from Mars. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right? First, she ain't black.
Right.
By the construct of the terms of what it means to be black in America, American descendant of slavery. Right? She ain't experienced none of that shit. Right? But that ain't that. She ain't black. You can have, that conversation don't mean shit. They bypass that.
No.
Right? No. They bypass her history with criminality and jail and
even her treatment of black women.
And even her treatment of black women, right? Mm-hmm. And I just said that the numbers are just if you add in the amount of black men in jail, how that patriarchal construct of the conversation, it dissipates. Because we ain't on these fucking streets.
No.
We got to give some credence to the level of value that has in our community specifically, like the impact of what jail did to us, right? And that becomes interesting in this time because what? We legitimately have two candidates because Trump is selling law and order because he's selling that to keep white people feeling comfortable.
Yeah, they got to feel comfortable.
Right? And then Biden, who really is legitimately, and Kamala, who really is legitimately these law and order motherfuckers, right? While we're having protests in every goddamn neighborhood in the black community in America. How do you think that turns out for our children? All them motherfuckers going to jail.
It ends poorly, and I want to have that conversation when we come back because in that article that you referenced earlier, one that you sent to me earlier this morning, they're also talking about how the business community in Chicago are responding to the mayor and reaching out to the mayor in the form of open letters and other things to say, hey, white folks ain't scared. They don't feel safe downtown. And they're ready to move out this city if you don't do something about these fucking black people coming down to the Mag Mile. We'll have that conversation and more when we come back from this. This is I Said What I Said. Herb Howard, Tucson Warner here with you to 3 o'clock. We'll be right back.
Herb, you need to come up. Your chair needs to come up, so you got to get out of it, though.
Good, because I need to stand up anyhow.
Bop, bop, bop.
Don't. What's going on, people? Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'll be trying to follow the comments and talk. I'll be missing it.
Yeah, it's a lot of duality happening here, man. You got to work every process, every aspect. But we appreciate you all rocking with us, man.
Greatly appreciate it. We got amazing here working hard.
Also, don't forget to hit them stars, y'all. We calling out them names, shouting y'all out. I think we're gonna do win a date with Herb for a couple stars. How many stars will get you a date? Five?
Listen,
like 5 stars?
Listen, I'm easy. I'm cheap. I'm going for the low. You hear me?
You going for the low.
I'm a cheapo. I'm a cheapo. I'm going for whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Patah for those 300 stars. Obviously, he's trying to get a date with her.
Patah's my man.
Nah, shout out to Patah. That's my man. I saw Patah the other day. I was riding through Hyde Park, man.
Yeah. We are gonna come with some type of thing where maybe at the end of any given week, whoever's giving the most stars, you can come up to the show, hang out with us. We got the lounge and studio set up outside. Maze is outside conducting meetings right now. Maze is out here doing production. He's doing tech. Maze, what else you do? What don't you do around this camp?
Shit. Eat, goddamn. That's coming though. We building something big, fellas.
Shout out to Sarah Mickens for the 4,000 stars. We appreciate that.
Hey, we appreciate that. See, now for that, listen, throw all the chairs away in your house and just let me stop. As long as I got a face,
do some change for some change for the 4,000.
Hey. Y'all silly, man. But I ain't lying. I ain't lying.
Y'all look good on. You see it on the big screen?
Oh snap! Ooh.
Oh, look at God! Look at Jesus!
Nah, it's just tall enough. Oh, that'll work too.
Hold on, I gotta stand for that.
It's just tall enough to catch the bottom lip of this plastic thing.
I got you.
Okay, I'm glad it's playing on there, but can I see it on here too? Because that's where I really need to see that. I guess I don't really need to see on there. As long as I can peep that, we good.
Shout out to Eric for the 50 stars, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, so next week we'll announce, we'll figure out exactly how we want to do it in terms of, being able to say thank you in some way, shape, or form, to say thank you for the stars. And so we'll figure out a way to.
Also, we're gonna be selling promotional space to buy commercials and everything. We're supposed to get into that too, man. So we're gonna be, getting, if you got a business that you're trying to promote, if you're doing something you want to promote, get in tune with us. We can talk about it.
Right on.
Diane Scott said, "Won't he do it? Won't he do it?" She said, "Won't he do it?
Won't he do it?
God is good all the time.
Willie won't." Shout out to Deion Cole. I was watching Cole Hardy earlier today, man. That dude is a whole fool.
I ain't never seen that.
You ain't seen Cole Hardy yet? Watch that shit, bro.
I ain't seen nothing from Deion Cole. Well, no, wait. That's his last special.
It dropped this year.
No, I saw that. That's
it dropped this year.
When you said that, I was thinking of B Cole for some reason.
Oh no. B Cole. I mean, shout out to B Cole too. He good peeps, but I don't think he dropped the special in a minute.
Rachel Lindsay said, "If I can get a good promo on my son's mixtape, I'll buy as many stars as the audience in one day." I'm already on it. Let's get the mixtape information.
Right now. Can I just let y'all know also? Y'all got about 30 people watching you live on YouTube, so the number might be deceptive. Make sure you shout out your YouTube people.
Okay.
Well.
Salute to the YouTube listenership as well.
103 live
right on.
Man, right on. We rocking out here.
Shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. We greatly appreciate you all tuning in as well. We truly appreciate y'all tuning in from wherever. Catrice, thank you so much for the stars. What's going on with you, love? Appreciate you. Been rocking what I said since day one. Esco, we ready? Welcome back. This is I Said What I Said. My name is Herb Howard. Cole's name is Tucson Warner. Each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we get together right here at 1 p.m. Central Time to discuss the state of black community, right? How these things that we're dealing with are impacting us as individuals, how they impact us as a collective, and more importantly, along with your help, we try to talk through this thing and find some solutions for how we can overcome these things, again, as individuals, but perhaps more importantly, as a collective. So thank you so much for choosing to be a part of this conversation. You guys could literally be doing anything else, but you all are here hanging out with us, taking a part and being a part of this conversation. So thank you so much. If you have not done so, please take a quick moment to share this conversation. Share it on your own personal page. Share within your own personal network, even anyone that you think would either add value to or find value in this particular conversation. We would love to have them be a part of it. We feel like the more like-minded individuals that we can get in this conversation gives us the best opportunity to find the optimum solutions going forward.
What Mays called us earlier?
May said that we are intellectual thuggery. Right? He said this conversation is intellectual thuggery. And because it was so apt, we were like, yeah, that sounds good. That's about who we are. That's about who we are.
Phone them,
right?
Phone them to read a book every now and then.
Phone them to read a book every now and then, right? So thank y'all for taking part in this intellectual thuggery. We truly appreciate it. Thank y'all so much for the stars, man. It means so very much to us. It allows us to continue to develop, continue to bring this to you in the best way, shape, and form possible. So thank you all so much for contributing with the stars. Thank you so much, more importantly, for just listening and for being a part of the conversation. It means a lot to us. We're trying to get as many people who are, one, aware that there are problems in our community, and two, actively engaged in overcoming some of those problems to actually come together. I think we spend a lot of time pointing the finger and blaming people who are not involved in the solution. And the fact of the matter is they probably don't even fucking know there's a problem. If they do realize there's a problem, they're too busy trying to survive on a day-to-day to actively be involved in overcoming it. And so I think the onus is on us, right? It's incumbent upon those of us who are aware that there's a problem and are actively engaged. The onus is on us to unite and be unified in our approach to kind of deal with some of these things. And I think even amongst us, we spend a whole lot of time pointing the finger and naming and blaming, playing the blame game, and our egos getting in the way and all those types of things. We have to set the example for other people to get involved. And once we can show some unity, we can start to have some wins. And then, as we stated earlier, everybody wants to be a part of a winner. So if we can show some wins, then that gives you an opportunity to go at that second group that's aware there's a problem but are not actively engaged. And if we can get that group in, then maybe finally we can figure out how to go at the people who don't even know that's a problem. So again, thank y'all so much for being a part of it. It means the world.
How do we not know it's a problem though?
Because it's the norm, bro. It's an abnormal norm, right? It's things that shouldn't be happening in our community, but they happen in our community since you've been born. So it's a normal thing for you. You don't even realize that it's an abnormal thing until you're exposed to something else.
How many living generations do you think we have on the planet right now? Maybe
4 or 5. Mm-hmm.
So in those 4 or 5 generations, things have changed.
Sure.
So it's not the norm for everybody, right? Now my kids, they were born in a time where they've never seen CHA. They've never seen project houses, right? So that's abnormal to them, right? But I've never seen people sleeping under the viaduct on 47th Street. That's abnormal to me, but very normal to them, right? So it's no standardized norm, right? That homeless community, that homeless population on 51st Street under the viaduct. I'm sorry, not 47th Street.
51st, right by the police station.
Right by the that's new. That homeless population down on Roosevelt, that's new. That's not Chicago. That's very new.
Right.
For my children, it might be very normal, but in the context of just my life, that's new.
But
we're watching what happens when wealth calcifies. We're watching what happens when we lose the wealth from our communities. It's not normal. The levels of deaths, the types of deaths that we see, that is not even normal for my populace, right? Well, granted, when we were young, the numbers were outrageous, but they were different kinds of deaths, right? They were very different. There's a video. I can't even stop watching this. I'm ashamed to say that I watched this shit. I would say it out loud. But there's a page on Instagram. You know the page I'm talking about?
No, but instantly when you said there's a video that you can't stop watching, I thought about the video that I can't stop watching. This the little Vietnamese man counting numbers. I can't stop watching. Have you seen this shit?
You super ignorant. I don't know that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I saw that. I did see that.
I can't stop watching this.
There's a page on Instagram called like Chicago Ghetto. There's a few of them there. Chicago Ghetto.
Yeah.
Chicago.
What's it? Chicago Media Takeout?
Chicago Media Takeout. And really, all they do is follow the dysfunction in Chicago.
Oh, there's a market for it.
I can't turn away. I'm honest. I cannot turn away from this shit. Right? It's like a car crash. I can't stop looking at this shit. Right?
Yeah.
We got a group. We say this shit to each other all day long. Like you see this crazy shit. If you look at that shit, man, if you see the way our youth are moving, this shit is not normal. It's not normal. So I have a problem with just saying it's been normalized. It's not normal. It's normal for who? It might be normal for somebody who's 15 to 18, but somebody who's 25 to 45, this shouldn't be normal. Somebody who's 45 to 65, this isn't normal.
What I'm saying is all of this shit is abnormal. So whether you're talking about, people living under the bridge on 51st Street, or you're talking about Robert Taylor's or Cabrini Green, right? That shit was normal for us in the 90s. That was just, it was normal, right? That's a very, very abnormal existence. It's not normal for you to stack thousands of people on top of each other in a single building, right? That's a very abnormal existence. But we normalized it, and today it's just the new normal. They knocked down the buildings, and really all that did was send the rest of the city haywire, right?
I get it, right? But I'm seeing videos on this goddamn page. These motherfuckers, I'm sorry, we be lined up like a militia shooting down Madison. It be 10 motherfuckers ducking behind cars with AK-47s, like 30 poppers, G. Where do you get that? Where do you get that, G? Where do you get this kind of armory from? Right? I know a little bit about weapons. How do you get those?
Yeah, listen, I think that nowadays it's easier to get an extended 30-shot clip than it is to get a damn library card, right? Everybody can get an extended clip, right? Everybody got 30s on them, right? And when we say 30s, we mean the clip that goes into a handgun that takes your clip that maybe normally holds 10 to 16 bullets. It can now hold 30 shots, and so now I can get off 30 shots in a matter of seconds.
Now you got
none of that goof
30
shoot.
chances of missing some shit because you ain't never shot nothing.
None of that shoot. And they shoot from across the street. They shooting from moving cars. They shooting on the expressway. They're doing all kind of dumb shit. But they figure if I got 30 shots, or if I got 50 shots in an AK, maybe one of these bullets will hit who I'm shooting at.
Yeah, this shit's insanity, man.
It is absolutely insanity.
And that's I just asked again, like, what's normal about this? Nothing about this is normal. When I ride down 51st Street and I see that community under the viaduct.
And shout out to Alita, man. What
Inglewood Barbie?
Inglewood Barbie. She's been feeding them under there for a very long time. She's been committed to it. So shout out to her and all the work she's
done. Created a lane for herself by doing that, right? But it's an abnormal situation, right? But it's becoming normalized, and it's not just becoming normalized in Chicago. It's becoming normalized across the country, and it's becoming normalized across the country because it's what I keep saying. Wealth is calcifying, and this ain't a black conversation, right? This is a black conversation because we're the poorest and we're getting affected the fastest, but it's happening for everybody. I was in Seattle over the last summer, right? Them people, they under the same act, but they sleeping in campers and shit because they had a little more access, right? They had a little more liquid money to move around with when their money got taken away from them. That's just what it is. We're at the bottom of this conversation, and because we're at the bottom of the conversation, instead of you seeing us in campus or instead of you seeing us downsizing in our homes, we got to go directly to under the viaduct. That's a conversation that we need to be having for the next election. That's why I've always been pushing, like, the only agenda that we could really talk about is reparations. None of that other shit matters. No disrespect, but healthcare don't mean shit if you poor. It don't mean you ain't even your body gonna work fine until you in your 20s, no matter what the situation is. If you eat every day, you can eat bullshit every day. Your body pretty much gonna work.
That conversation has to be flipped. The money conversation has to be, paramount to the health. And then now, once you got the money, you want to be healthy to be able to enjoy it. But being healthy and starving, it don't, you know what I mean? They don't even sound right to go together, right? So I'm with you 100% on that.
Yeah, but all that other shit, education, healthcare, you can't focus on that shit if there's no capital.
Right.
Because it all feeds into the very necessities of living, right? When you start thinking about resources, it ain't no hunter-gatherer society. We ain't going to hunt no fucking food.
No.
So the only resources that matter is capital. That's it.
Right.
That's it. And if we ain't got none, all that other shit is secondary.
So we got into the conversation just before the break talking about, how the violence and how the demonstrations and the uprisings are starting to impact people who don't want anything to do with it, right? It's finding itself on Michigan Avenue, on the Magnificent Mile, and we're just talking about, a prominent rap figure being murdered down on Oak Street in front of all these, stores, these high-end designer stores, and now you have people like, listen, Madam Mayor, we don't really want this shit going on down here, right? We need to get rid of this. And they sending open letters, and you got the presidents of these condo associations and all these real estate people saying, hey, all of my people that I represent, they're talking about leaving the city now. They don't want to be around here, right? They moved downtown because they thought this is a safe space to be. I can live my uppity existence and I'll be perfectly fine. But now you got the low end and you got the west side coming on into downtown, and we don't want them down here. Mayor, what are you going to do about that? And so now you got the mayor holding press conferences with everybody she can get to talk to black people about staying off the Mag Mile. Complete bullshit. But it's the reality of the conversation when you talk about economics in a city that is built, literally designed for the haves and the have-nots. It's built to keep your ass where we put your ass, and we don't want you out of that. We built the expressways and everything to keep you in a certain spot. Please stay your ass over there and don't come down here. We do not want you here. And they're making that very, very clear to the mayor. And she's already starting to give in to some of that pressure to say, well, maybe I need to tell these people to stay from down here.
Again, is she giving in to that pressure, or is this who she always been? Think about this, right?
It don't really matter to me.
It does matter, because that's we championing the bullshit. We championed it with Barack. We're championing it now with Kamala. We championed it with our mayor, right? If you start looking at the elected officials in Chicago, right, specifically, let's say the aldermen, I think what 70% of them might be from other places. You start to get into their background. Most of them come from University of Chicago. Even when you start to get to the Barack conversation, like I put this up the other day on my Facebook, and I was like, how many of us has been to Indonesia? How many of us has been to Kansas? How many of us has been to Hawaii? How many of us has been to India? Because those are the experiences represented by those people, right? But again, until you fully understand white supremacy, everything you think you understand will only confuse you, right? So we value that Harvard education, right? We value that articulation that we assume white people value. Right. We value all of that shit because it gets us closer to the understanding the identity of whiteness.
Right.
Because we've not yet to define our own identity. Right. And we don't put value in that shit. So, right, you get all these people to come to our communities. Where's Lloyd from? Ohio or some shit? Man, get the fuck out of here. Right. What you got to say to me about how to run this city?
Right.
What can you communicate to me about my experience in this city?
Right.
You're not really the one, right? And because, and let's keep it a buck. Just like the Trump conversation and the Trump and Hillary conversation. When I say white women elected Trump, right?
Yeah.
Right? You can't put that on black people.
Right.
So we ain't responsible for that shit. But here's the thing about Lori Lightfoot. Willie Wilson won every black award in this motherfucker. Why? Why? Because for the first time in our lives, in a real way, Willie looked like us.
Yeah.
Willie talked like your granddad.
If he could, if Dr. Willie Wilson could speak in a way that met people's ear more pleasantly, he'd be the mayor of Chicago. But when I thought that Willie Wilson, and no, like, listen,
you so ignorant.
I like Dr. Wilson.
You never want that.
I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I run it for mayor of Chicago. Like, listen, Dr. Wilson, nobody's gonna vote for that, right? Even though he's genuinely invested in the community, he genuinely gives a fuck about the people. But again, is he electable in that type of way? And I think that if he were, he'd be the mayor of Chicago right now.
What makes him electable?
My name Dr. Willie Wilson.
No, what would have made him electable?
Not saying my name Dr. Willie Wilson. Not for real. In all seriousness, I really think that literally, I think the only thing I can find to kind of say that he's not electable is the way that he speaks. I'm dead ass serious.
Funny to me.
Listen,
God,
I know it's funny, but I'm dead ass. If the way he spoke met people's ear more pleasantly, I believe he'd be mayor of Chicago right now. Right? You have a black homosexual female mayor, right? So it's not because he's black, right? It's not that, right? We got past that, right? But the fact of the matter is, the only thing that I can think of that made him not so electable, not as much as Mayor Lightfoot or as much as President Preckwinkle, was they sound a little bit better than him when they talk.
Sound better or sound white, right? Because your grandmama, your grandfather, because that's what really 80 was really represented, right? Somewhere in the South is where your ass is from, right? And that's kind of how Southern people kind of communicate, right? I got family members. I'll be like, say that again.
Say that again.
It just is what it is. You got to deal with it, right? That don't mean they don't have no. They don't mean they like intellect. That don't mean they have wisdom. That don't mean they don't understand money.
Dr. Wilson is very smart. He's a successful businessman. He gives a fuck about
none of that shit defines who those people are.
But you talk about the third largest city in America. You're talking about Chicago being constantly on national. But see, don't matter if you care or not.
This goes to the conversation we always talk about zero grade reliance. So fucking what?
Not so fucking what? Because if it was so fucking what, he'd be the mayor. Right? It's not so fucking what.
I'm not saying that we should abide by the so fucking what rule. I'm not saying we do.
If Barack talked like Dr. Wilson, he wouldn't have been the president, bro.
If Barack was 2 shades darker, he wouldn't have been the president, bro.
All that matters.
I'm not disagreeing with you on none of that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that that's our affinity to whiteness. Right? And what I'm saying is that we have to have a zero grade reliance on that shit.
I agree.
If Dr. Willie Wilson, have you says it like that, then we got to start rocking with Dr. Willie Wilson. Right?
I agree.
We got to start to understand that language and accept it and not make jokes of this shit like it, because it is funny.
It's fucking hilarious. Like, what do you want me to do?
But we got to find ways to move beyond that, because that is what that zero grade reliance looks like. That's what that real full, fruitful understanding of our identity looks like.
Yeah.
That shit is important, right?
It
so,
is.
But to the point of the Lori election, though, man, we talking about her raising the bridges. We talking about her creating a task force to find losers. Really, what Lori is doing is what? Appealing to her fucking base.
Yeah, she won the North Shore.
Stop it, though. Stop. Let's listen, though. She's appealing to her base. This is what the fuck they want me to do. I'm going to do it, right? Now, we got a whole swath of our community right now saying, I'm rocking with Joe Biden because of Kamala Harris. Because we see her as part of our base. She's not part of our fucking base. How do you think she's going to respond when you have an ass? She don't give a fuck. You ain't the base. And she's only playing you, and we're only being manipulated like we've been manipulated in the past. It's time for us to mature and grow our understanding of our positioning in America the fuck up. Period.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, too. And I say all the time that, again, I think personally that it is our responsibility. Those of us who have some semblance of access into certain rooms where they wouldn't have us speak a certain way, they wouldn't have us walk a certain way, talk a certain way, look a certain way. I think it's incumbent upon us to absolutely speak that way, absolutely walk that way, absolutely talk that way, because that's us being authentic and true to ourselves. But more importantly, what it does is it lets them know that even though a person can walk and talk this way, they're still more than capable of carrying themselves properly in this room. They're still more than capable of being the most intelligent person in this space. They're still more than capable of running this particular project, managing that particular project, because I know that Toussaint is intelligent. I know that Toussaint can run this project. I see what he's able to do on a daily basis. But he also talks like somebody that's from 95th Street, right? And there's value in that, because outside of those of us who have some access into those spaces, they don't interact with people who talk like us, right? And so if all we're going to do is walk into those rooms and immediately begin to capitulate and conform to what they deem to be acceptable, then we are also saying the same thing, like, now fuck everybody else who talk like the same way I talk when I'm not in this room, right? As soon as I walk out this room, I'm going to talk how I usually talk. But in here, I'm going to speak differently. And I'm not saying that code switching doesn't have its place. But we do it so often and so regularly and so unconsciously that it becomes to our detriment of the collective. But again, we're not here for the collective.
Powerless people.
Mm.
If you got power, you ain't got the code switch shit.
Because Mark Cuban said how you feel it.
Period.
Donald Trump said how you feel it.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
I grabbed him by the pussy. Do something.
You know what I'm saying?
Do something.
You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Right.
I mean, just keep it a buck, right?
Can you whip my ass?
I don't give a fuck how you feel about it.
Right.
This is what's going to be and this is what's going to be.
Right.
Do something about it.
Right.
The only people that got to adhere to any of them goddamn rules are powerless people.
Mm-hmm.
That's who laws are made for.
Mm-hmm.
Powerless people.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump saying, show you my motherfucking taxes. Fuck
Mm-hmm.
you.
Right.
Do something about it.
Right.
Fuck you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Barack Obama could be on the goddamn House floor and they could holler out you a liar.
Right.
He could be getting off a plane and the white woman could put his finger in his face. This
Right.
is the goddamn president of the United States of America.
Right.
Know your place, boy.
Allegedly the most powerful person on earth.
Know your place, boy.
Right. Period.
We got to stand in the light of our true essence,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we really believe that we are made in God's image, shit, then I'm God.
Mm-hmm.
So don't nothing you do define how the fuck I move or who the fuck I am.
But if every single aspect of this society in this country tells you otherwise,
Fuck them.
eventually you begin to internalize that.
You
see all the
you don't have to.
You don't
Fuck
have to.
'em.
But you see all the videos going around. I was watching one today. A man was just in his yard, right? In some, relatively affluent neighborhood. He seemed to have a really, really nice house, right? And he's in his own yard. And all he's doing is inspecting the work of the landscapers who have just left from cutting this man's grass. Police officer rolls down the street, sees this man walking around his own house, checking the grass, comes up to him, walks on his property. What you doing here? He say, huh? What are you doing here? What you mean what I'm doing here? I'm standing here. Why are you standing here? Because I can. Let me see your ID. I'm not showing you shit. Is this your house? I ain't got to answer your question either, right? Because if I was a white man standing in my yard, you wouldn't have got your car, come over here and ask me shit. But because I'm a black man standing in front of this particular house, you want to come up here and question me. And then you call back up, and you get more and more people coming over here to question me. And all I'm saying is, regardless of how unwilling we may be to capitulate or how much we don't want to do that, right? Eventually, over time, all of that shit adds up, and you find yourself starting to do some of those things.
So I'm going to disagree
Mm-hmm.
again.
Sure.
Right? So just think about this show itself.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about most times when we're in this conversation?
Black shit.
Black shit wrapped in politics, black shit
Intellectual thuggery.
Intellectual thuggery.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now there was a moment in time we was doing this in my kitchen. Then there was a moment in time when COVID hit and we was doing it from different locations.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're moving on the upward stairwell,
Mm-hmm.
right? And damn near every word that come out of my mouth is fuck, motherfucker. It just is what it is, right? And it's on purpose. Now I can stop that. We've been on terrestrial radio and I've never said a cuss word.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So obviously I can control it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is where I'm comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
This is where I'm comfortable.
Mhm.
And this is what I want to do. Why did I stop coming to terrestrial radio? Because I didn't want to do that shit no more.
Right.
'Cause them ain't the people I'm talking to.
It was your
and when I decided that I'm not going to do that shit no more, I want to do this shit started to elevate.
Mhm.
Because you don't have to follow nobody's fucking rules.
You don't.
You create the standard and the group that you're looking for will find you.
Mhm.
Fuck them people, man.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck them.
Mhm.
And it's really that simple. It's not a big conversation.
No, I agree with you. You're absolutely right. When we were doing it on radio, and you was like, "Hey, we can do this shit ourselves and make it our own thing." I was like, "Okay, cool." And then what it turns into is it's a conversation that just between you and I, right? Which is what we do all the time, right? We talk all the time. And
It's
like,
the garage
and
conversation,
right? And we're gonna have that same conversation whether we in the garage or whatever, right? We're gonna have that same conversation. And now it's just like, okay, who else wants to be a part of this conversation? As is, right?
Mm-hmm.
As is. And shout out to Mace Jackson and shout out to What's in it for the black people to say, well, we see extreme value in that, right? Bring that thing over here, and y'all can still say it how y'all feel it, right? We not because we had to meet. We're like, okay, Mace, let's talk about it. What does that look like over here? He's like, no, it looked just like y'all doing that shit. But there's some things over here that we can help enhance what y'all already doing, and then there's some things that y'all doing that can enhance what we're doing, and it's a match made in heaven. And so far, so good. And shout out to everybody who's been rocking with us just since last week. Maybe you had never heard of I Said What I Said. Maybe you had never heard of Herb Howard or Tucson Warner, but now you've been tuning into the show. We greatly, greatly appreciate you all, and a huge shout out to everybody who's been rocking with I Said What I Said from the beginning. You guys have continued to rock with us as we come over here. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. Again, leave your comments. You can call in. The phone lines are open now. 872-259-7474. 872-259-7474. And thank you for the stars. You can contribute to the show that way and support us that way. If you click those little gold stars at the bottom of the screen, we greatly, greatly appreciate that as well. I believe Esco is telling me that someone is on the line. Is that right, Esco? Jay, thanks for the call. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Jay, what's happening, boy?
Hope you guys are feeling good. You're talking real good. I appreciate the show. You was talking about Willie Wilson, and the only downfall you can see with this guy is the way he talks, because he's a very successful businessman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think what he should do is perhaps have people speak for him. I mean, that would be novel in politics, but he needs to have somebody that talks like Barack Obama. And when you're talking with Hispanics, get another Hispanic to articulate your thoughts for them. You know, I mean, it's novel in politics, but it's not a novel concept, because Elijah Muhammad, if you listen to him speak, he didn't speak all that well either.
True.
He had Malcolm X and Farrakhan and other people speaking for him. You know, so I think he should consider that, because this man is brilliant. He got millions.
Sure.
He just don't talk so well.
Sure.
So you gotta be creative in how you approach this thing. In fact, Barack Obama was creative in how he approached
Mary Michelle
becoming the president in 2008. You know, he was using social media and that type of stuff, right?
Sure.
And I guess that's more popular now. So I mean, you got to change the time. You need to have people talking for him, and then he'll step up and say a few words and let them articulate his thoughts. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Good idea. Thanks for the call, Jay. We greatly appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for choosing to call in and have your voice heard. Listen, I think that's something, you know, that could be considered. You know, again, to the point of the conversation that we were having, we would like to get to a space where that's not necessary, right? Where he could be his complete, most authentic self and still be accepted and still be heard for his thoughts, his ideas, his leadership capabilities. But sometimes you got to be able to present it to people in a way that they find acceptable.
Now, I agree with you, right? But there's, again,
if you're talking about going to the masses, right? So we talk, the example you gave about I said what I said, we are trying to talk to a specific group of people, right? We ain't trying to talk to everybody in Chicago, right? They want to be a part of it, cool. We ain't trying to talk to everybody in the country like Barack was trying to do, right? And you talk about Dr. Wilson, he's trying to talk to everybody. And so maybe that might be something to consider. I don't know.
So, no, I don't disagree with you, right? It's a game, though, and that's kind of what I'm trying to explain to us. It's a game. It's all a game, right? But we have to identify our team. Like, we really are represented in the big scheme of things as one piece on the Monopoly board.
Sure.
But in our community, we don't see ourselves as one piece. So we go into the Monopoly game as if we have the option to be all these other different pieces. No, you the goddamn top hat, and that's all you get access to. Now, if the top hat came in and get his shit together to move as one top hat, then you never move past go. It just is what the fuck it is, right? But we get caught up in the illusion of the mythical vision of what America presents to us. So the brother mentioned Elijah Muhammad, right?
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the nation.
Yeah.
Never been a part of the nation, but always been a fan of the nation, right? I kind of grew up in one of them households where I was at the Nation on Sunday, I was at Push on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? I remember being in the minister's office as a kid when his office was still above the Final Call on 79th Street. Like, you know, he knows me, he knows my family. It's part of our experience, right? And the minister, and it's not just the minister. We got a history of great orators in the black community.
Absolutely.
Right? Which is why the goddamn church is so popular.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Jeremiah Wright is a hell of an orator. You can't take nothing from him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
The minister's a hell of an orator. You can't take nothing from him. And again, I love and appreciate the nation. But when you start looking at the tangible attributes of the Nation of Islam, he's right. Elijah Muhammad couldn't speak, but Elijah Muhammad built that shit. He built all of it. Elijah Muhammad had a third grade education, even less. He had a national distribution trucking company at the time when that just wasn't happening.
Not at all.
Right? Them goddamn bricks that built that house in Hyde Park was imported from
For real.
some goddamn Eastern country somewhere. Not only that, he had that house in Hyde Park and the other 3 houses directly across the street for his ladies. Right? Like, he was doing shit that a black man at that time was like, what the fuck? How is this possible? It was like the greatest man alive. Right?
For sure.
But until he introduced the minister, he couldn't grow the product. Because the minister was what? A hell of and I don't mean the minister Farrakhan, I mean Malcolm X. Right? He couldn't grow the product. So Malcolm
X reach the masses.
Couldn't reach the masses. Malcolm X was like the expert salesman to sell his story.
Sure.
right?
Sure.
But in regards to like tangible outcomes, and there's no disrespect to Minister Farrakhan or Malcolm X, none of them have the tangible outcomes of Elijah Muhammad. None of them. None of them. He had a fucking trucking distribution company like that. We'll get that now.
We'll have it now. Right.
Tangible outcomes are important.
They are.
Right?
They are.
So, and it's more important than sales. But the way America works is what I always say, right? Imaging and messaging dictates behavior. That's why we spend so much money on telling the story instead of having a fucking story. Right? We don't, the tangibly building some shit don't really matter. It's just, how can you sell me on it? You're going to tangibly build some shit.
Can you sell it?
Right? Which
is that
usually leads to what? A bunch of talk, a bunch of rhetoric, and a bunch of nothingness.
Is that not the same conversation we opened the show with Jay Morrison?
Same shit.
Same.
Jay put on a nice suit. He takes a picture from the house that ain't his.
Right.
I'm gonna buy all of America with your money.
I ain't got no tangible results for you, but I'm selling the shit out of it.
And we buying that shit.
Buying it. Hook, line, and sinker, we buying it, right? And
same shit with Lori Lightfoot though, Auntie Lori. I mean, that's where these nicknames come from, because she's selling
Uncle
you
Joe.
an idea. What we got to understand about American sales is what they really saying. What they really selling is just ideas. It ain't about tangible products. It's about ideas. Nike's an idea. Gucci is an idea.
I remember the first
Toyota's a fucking idea.
The first day I got like into my like real marketing courses in college, walked in and this professor was like, he had a bunch of companies up on the board, and he's just showing their taglines, their slogans. And the one that stuck out to me the most was Avis, right? The car rental company, Avis. And we spent a little bit of time on that because he said, what's their slogan? And their slogan is, we try harder. And he was like, what the fuck does that mean? Right? They aren't even promising you anything. They aren't even telling you shit. We just gonna try, right? We trying, right? There's nothing tangible coming with that. I can't even guarantee you this is gonna go.
Hopefully your shit gonna make it.
Right. We tried though. We tried. We're trying, right? That's all.
God willing, we gonna get you there.
That's all I can tell you, right? We tried, right? We tried to get you a car that fucking worked. We tried, right? Right? I ain't promising you nothing else. And he was like, that's how marketing works. I don't really have to give you shit. I have to sell you on an idea. And they're bold enough to even tell you,
let me tell you
something. Not give you shit. I'm just trying.
Here's some true metrics to marketing, right? Before the advent of the internet, there was never no return on you. There was no ROI on marketing. They could never tell you what you was getting off that shit.
No.
It was always what we think.
Yeah.
It's an estimate.
Yeah.
We might.
Yeah.
It's never ROI on that shit.
Yeah.
It just isn't. There's no return on that investment.
Yeah.
You don't even know what that shit is. And even with the internet, because you can kind of quantify the shit, but it still ain't tangible results attached to that shit.
No.
You just know how many people seen that shit.
That's it.
That's it.
You don't really know what happened from it, what came from it, right? But I think that again, if we can look inward, right, and be our own solution and stop being sold on the bullshit, right? But look inward to the solution. But again,
we love bullshit.
Oh, don't we? We consume.
And this ain't even just black.
No,
America loves bullshit.
We consume bullshit at astronomical rates.
Man, if you can sing and you can tap dance, what's the Dave Chappelle joke? Dave Chappelle, this is the funniest shit in the world. This is like rare, right? He was like talking to his high school graduating class from his actual high school in like Baltimore or DC or some shit.
Sure.
And he was like, man, you know, they always tell you got to be an athlete or entertainer. He was like, but man, now fuck that, I ain't gonna lie to you. You better entertain these white people, otherwise you gonna be broke as shit.
True.
That's real.
True.
That's real. That's all the fuck we value is entertainment, man.
True.
Tap dance, monkey.
That's what else? You have no other value to us, right? You go out and build your own shit. We have a problem with that. We coming for it. We're gonna try to tear that thing down. And so it has to be a place where we get to a point where it's like, okay, we're not trying to assimilate into y'all's culture like that, right? We're trying to build our own thing, do for ourselves, and support one another. But we are so busy trying to be accepted, so busy trying to assimilate. And listen, again, I say this all the time, right? And you say it's all the time about it being nuanced conversation, right? I understand that this is America. I understand that we live in a capitalistic society, right? You need money. Nobody's sitting here telling you that you need to live under the bridge too, right? We're talking about the relationship that we have with money and how it motivates every single thing we do. And that is what needs to change. The relationship that we have with it. Not our aspirations to get it, nothing like that. But the relationship that we have with it needs to change. And if we can change that, then I think that we can start to become our own solutions, and we won't be so susceptible to the okie doke, because it won't be so easy to sell us a bill of goods, even if there's no tangible results coming with it.
I'm with the relationship to money conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with that, right? But at the same time, and you know, like you said, this is capitalism America.
Yeah.
And outside of just like the relationship that we have with money, man, again, because we're operating from a place of lack, I always say it has to be a dual kind of movement toward growth. And for me, the spirituality component, I always say that the money becomes a band-aid for us to get to the spiritual healing.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I always say that.
Right.
And I only say that because I think in my mind, and this is just my perspective, is that that's how fucking sick we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can get to the spiritual healing without the money.
Mm-hmm.
But because we so fucking infected by the sickness, I think the money gives us a level of stabilization to really recognize the true value of money. Just like we talked about Duck again.
Mm-hmm.
Duck got to the money.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't change Duck though.
No.
He didn't get nothing out of that money.
No.
He still had the nappy ass hair. He still lived in some low down looking ass shit.
Mm-hmm.
I could almost argue he was still eating a shitty cuisine.
Oh, he was.
Right? So all the advantages that money really gives you, the only one he took part in is subjugating himself to more labor control by buying the right clothes,
Mm-hmm.
having the right kind of car.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't travel.
Nah.
Going to the Gold Coast was like a big deal to the nigga. I've seen other videos like, I ain't never moving about this city. I love this hood shit.
Sure.
So all the access that you gained from having that capital, because your mind was rooted in poverty, you couldn't do shit with it.
But that Band-Aid serves for as a stabilizer, right? It allows you to stabilize yourself long enough to really deal with those other issues, right? You talk about like hierarchy of needs, right? I can't really focus on these things at the top of this pyramid until my foundational stuff is taken care of. Same thing you talk about like kids going to school, right? I ain't ate this morning. I ain't eat last night, and I woke up in a cold house with no lights. Fuck this spelling test, okay? I don't give a damn about this math quiz. Don't mean shit to me. My basic needs aren't being met, and so if we can get that stabilizer to meet our basic needs.
We kind of put that shit on the kid, but it's a culture, right? Mama can't pay the cable bill. Mama can't pay the light bill, and it's not just that she can't pay the cable bill, the light bill. She mad because she had to feed me instead. So now she whooping on my ass or yelling at me and talking to me a certain kind of way, or daddy or whoever you want to put in that position. It don't really matter, right? But it creates a culture,
resentment,
right? It creates a culture, but again, that spiritual healing don't take that fucking money. Because them people that live on the 51st Street, right? They got as much access as a billionaire. They could literally wake up every day and do whatever the fuck they want to do. And what's $1 billion give you? The opportunity to wake up every day and do what the fuck you want to do.
Freedom.
It's just your perspective. It's just your perspective, G.
I agree. I value my freedom more than anything. In all aspects of my life, I value my freedom more than anything. My ability to wake up and say, I either am or am not going to do this or that, right? Now, could I put myself in positions? Could I use some of my credentials or accolades to put myself in position to say, okay, well, this could probably bring me more money if I do this thing this way. But that's also going to require me to be in this place at this time every single day from here to there, and I don't have any control over it. I must be there, right? As opposed to saying, well, I can do things differently, and maybe it doesn't come with the same financial security. But it comes with the fucking freedom for me to be like, I'm gonna do what the fuck I feel like doing today, and nothing else.
Man, to the point of the Dr. Willie Wilson speech.
Yeah,
we got a couple stars that came in. I know I'm about to murder the shit out of this name.
I've been trying to work on that name for a little while.
Toward the Miller.
See, that's that bullshit. that right there. That right there is that bullshit. Okay. That's that bullshit right there. Okay, me making fun of Dr. Wilson is one thing. You fucking with our lawyer, I said what I said, people. Nah,
I really want to learn how to pronounce his name. I want you to call in just to say this shit correctly, man. I'm just gonna say Mr. Douglas, 600 stars, man. We appreciate it.
We greatly appreciate it. You know, I appreciate it so much. I guarantee you by Wednesday I'll be able to pronounce your name. Unless you want to call me right now.
You better call it. You better
872-259.
Felicia, shout out to Felicia.
Because somebody actually pronounced it properly one day. I don't remember who or when or what it was, but
and Vance as well.
That's that bullshit from you, man. Look,
I'm trying to do it phonetically, man. I'm sorry. What the fuck you want me to do? I'm from 95th. What the fuck?
I'm from 95th. Yo, I'm gonna bring Esco up because Esco, I want to.
It's Ntwa Dumela.
Ntwa Dumela?
It's Ntwa Dumela, and it's a woman.
See?
Mrs. Douglas, I'm so sorry.
Oh my God.
Antoine Dumela.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna write that phonetically for every time we gotta say it.
Not only were you butchering the name, but it's Mr. Douglas too. Damn, too. Well,
just had to say it right. I think that would get good.
We got one less one less family member, and I say
we're
what
gonna say that right from now on. Antoine Dumela.
Antoine Dumela.
I wonder what that means, because that has to have a meaning. Your parents was deep, I'm sure of it.
Oh, now you're trying to get back in good?
Yes, I am. I absolutely am.
Antoine Dumela, we've been noticing you rocking with the show for quite some time, and we greatly appreciate it. So now we know how to say it. Antoine Dumela. Appreciate you, man. See, man, be knowing all the shit. I want to get Sonya in here because Sonya, I want to ask you a question about something that I think we might be able to do. Right? Maybe. Can we get a drop of my name, Dr. Willie Wilson? Can we get, and every single time he comes up on this show, because I'm sure he'll come up several times as we go throughout. Can we drop that? My name, Dr. Willie Wilson. Either from me or from him, preferably.
Yeah, I'll put it together for you.
All right, appreciate it.
Come on, I got a little more sense than that.
I like that one even better.
Hey, Sonya, you are the best. She always ready. Always got to go. I appreciate you, Sonya.
That's hilarious.
Esco is the best, man.
We on the phone or something?
No, I pulled the speaker so I can hear Esco.
We got like 15 more minutes, right? But there was a conversation we kind of got away from, right? Mm-hmm. I said that we got two presidential candidates that essentially both parties have candidates that essentially represent the law and order party, mm-hmm. right? Trump is pushing the law and order conversation to secure white folks that they're gonna have security around their existence, right? Mm-hmm. And Kamala has a history of law and order as a practice, and Joe Biden has a history of law and order as a practice. Essentially, that's both of their claims to fame.
Sure.
Right? But in the last maybe 12 years, right?
Yeah.
Maybe even more than that, maybe the last 15 years, mm-hmm. there's been an uprising taking place in the black community.
Absolutely.
Right? So Trayvon was kind of like the spark, and that happened under the Barack Obama administration, mm-hmm. which led to a certain energy arising up out of the street. Mm-hmm. Now that energy is going through phases. It started with peaceful protesting, which is oxymoronic as shit. There's no such thing as a peaceful protest, right? Now it's going to all out violent revolts in certain cities. Mm-hmm. You know, Chicago ain't the only city that's experiencing this shit. Portland's going up in flames, and I ain't necessarily saying them black people, but the energy is in the streets.
Sure. And
I think that's valuable, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think the government should have control of the people. I think the government should be what the government is. Employees of the fucking people.
Power to the people.
Right? Power to the people, right? So now that we're kind of in this kind of a frequency and in this kind of an environment nationally, what the fuck do these two law and order administrations look like for the people?
Law and order look like for the people? It looks like police, a total police state, right? You're moving towards that. You see it happening out in Portland. You see it coming here in Chicago, where everything is under total police control, to where it say even where you move, right? You don't even have the freedom to move about. And I don't care if you're coming down here to demonstrate or to protest or not, right? You aren't welcome here, right? And the police are going to keep you from here regardless of not. And that police state ultimately is going to turn into a situation where you're going to have a lot more violence before you have any more peace.
So somebody on here wrote fascism, right? Complete control, essentially, man. I don't know
that was Alvin.
I don't know what happens, mm-hmm. right? But I think the energy that's happening on the streets right now is beautiful in the sense that it's going to breed a certain population for the next probably 2 generations, mm-hmm. right? I think there's a conversation that happens right now where everybody's talking about I'm woke.
Sure.
Right? And I don't really necessarily, in my personal opinion, I don't necessarily think they as woke as they think they are.
Right.
Right, but I think that energy is going to spark something in the next generation where they might come to the conversation with a different level of insight. And not only a different level of insight, but also a different level of gumption, mm-hmm. right? The nuts mm-hmm. you got to have to walk downtown with a brick in your hand, throw it through the window, and take whatever the fuck you want. That's gumption.
Yeah.
Right? That's a level of gumption that I can respect. That goes really to the core of that, can you whoop my ass, though? So you got that kind of gumption. and you growing up under this kind of oppressive state where it's not just oppressive quietly, it's oppressive publicly. So it kind of, my daughter, for example, right? My daughter's a very different child, right? She's coming to me with conversations like, man, look here, man, fuck these white folks, man. Dad, look here, this is what I'm on. She's drawing Black Power fists. I mean, this is my hand to God. My daughter might have been 6, 7 years old. And I woke up one morning and she had like 30 sheets of paper. And she had traced out the Black Power fist on all of them. And it said Black Power on everyone. She was just drawing these things, right? Tracing them and keeping them moving. And she said, Daddy, I made these flyers. We got to go put them on the neighbor's front door. This is the generation that's going to come after this. Because they're watching this. This is becoming part of the public lexicon. It's almost like the 60s, right? Where you got Malcolm, you got Martin, you got all this energy that's emerging about it. And you start thinking about some of the minds that evolved up out of that shit. And I don't even want to say 60s. We could probably say the 50s or the 40s. Because they became the product of the 50s or the 40s. And the minds that kind of cultivated was a level of brilliance that, shit, I don't know if we seeing today or have seen since.
No, that's brilliant though, right? And you talk about Bella doing something like that. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I want to say thanks to Michelle for the stars. I did see that come through. I don't know if I missed
and that. Kane, shout out to Kane too for the stars earlier. I don't know if I mentioned Kane.
We greatly appreciate you all continuing to support the show that way. If you want to support the show, please just click the gold star down the bottom of the screen. We greatly appreciate each and every one that you send. So I wanted to say thank you as I saw that come across the screen. But when you talk about that, right, it's the influence. It's not only the drawing, right? Because if y'all don't know, Toussaint is a very accomplished artist himself, right? We talk about freehand drawing, or we talk about graphic designs. Toussaint is very accomplished at is a very accomplished artist, right? And so obviously she's seeing you drawing and seeing some of your things as well. So she's kind of taken to that, but also the idea or the thought of giving a fuck, right? And wanting to go out here and be a part of the solution and being concerned and saying, okay, let's make sure everybody else is aware. Let's make sure everybody else knows about what is actually happening out here. She said, I made flyers. Let's go put them on everybody's door. I think that is the type of energy that we need to be putting into our young people. We need to be putting that type of energy into our people, our young people on a regular basis to say, okay, let's make sure that we understand how important these things are. I'm looking at Shannon Young saying, listen, I swear my daughter's a female version of Michael Evans.
And it's just the energy of the next generation. Yeah. It just is what it is. You can't avoid the shit. If they see this out in the streets, just like us, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. What I saw out in the streets was thuggery and gangbanging, and that shit was, no matter what I was coming from in the house, when I went outside, that shit was inspirational. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. I was a child of the crackhead. This is what the fuck was going on. It had some influence on me. You know what I mean? I also said that I spent time in Operation Push, and I also said I spent time in at the Final Call offices and at the mosque. That also inspired me. That also had an impact on the kind of energy that I propelled out in the streets into the world. It shaped who I became as an adult, right? That's why we get this, intellectual thuggery. This is just my very nature. It's part of my experience. So when kids are coming up in this environment, they're going to be some radical motherfuckers.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be thinking at a different level. And what will we be kind of like, I don't know, will we be like dousing water on the flame that is happening now? Right? This is legitimate. What's the Tupac quote? I might not change the world, but I'm going to be the spark, the flame that's going to become the catalyst to change the world. That's what's happening. I said earlier last week, you got to get off this fucking cyclical thing and get on this continuum. Right? They're part of that continuum. And again, like I said, like the sister said, my daughter's the female version of Mike Evans. My daughter ain't playing these games, bro. She ain't with the bullshit at all.
She's not with it at all.
And she's brilliant. You know what I mean? And she's fearless. My son, we working with him. Right?
I'm glad his sister is who his sister is. Because
she better take care of his ass when he get old.
Well, he probably going to be rich, but he's still going to be...
Lord willing, he make it to the NBA. But if he don't, he going to be sleeping on her couch. Thank God for my baby
girl. Hey, man. I'm peeping y'all here too in the comments as well. Said, hey, the agencies are watching, the government is watching, because the screen froze for a minute, and so it was a little bit of a glitch, and people couldn't hear. So somebody was like, "Y'all tripped over the court? What happened? What happened? They're like, the agents are watching. They about to shut y'all down." But no, in all seriousness though, we have to be able to continue to cultivate that type of energy, right? And again, we were talking about this on Monday. This desire or this natural inkling for children to question things and to ask questions, to ask why and why this and why that. And too often we want to stomp that out of them as early as possible. Just because I said so, because I'm the adult. Don't worry about why. And that's a hell of a question to ask, right? I don't think we should ever tell our children, stop asking why. Right now, they're just being some brats and why. But to the best of your ability, answer those questions for them, right? And continue to cultivate their desire to be inquisitive and to question things. Because if you tell them, don't ask me why at home, then when they get outside the crib, they're going to stop asking why too, right? So they're going to get in the classroom and they're going to hear some shit that they know don't make sense, but they're not going to ask why. They're going to get into a workplace that they know this shit don't make sense, and they're not going to ask why because you've gotten rid of that at an early age.
So my daughter got interviewed in the Final Call the other day.
Okay.
Right? They called us and they was... Shout out to Lakeisha Gray Sewell, man.
Yeah,
Lakeisha Gray
sure.
Sewell is my sister. I know if y'all seen us on other shows, you think she irritated me to life, and she does. But I love her to death.
You irritate her too.
I know. But Keisha set up opportunity for my daughter to get interviewed by the Final Call, having a conversation around the Beyonce video, the Black is King thing, right?
Okay.
So they called and they wanted to speak to both of us, and I was, I had the writer on the phone, on speakerphone, and I was kind of monitoring the conversation and the questions, and I thought I was going to have to kind of aid my daughter in some of her answers.
Really?
I did. Like, I was kind of nervous. Like, don't be nervous. I'm trying to just be comfortable before the conversation takes place. Right?
But once you get comfortable, she gone.
But the conversation, once the caller called and started asking questions, I was like, oh, shit, I ain't got it. This is your show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And she handled it like a champ. And she's very clear and concise in her understanding. Right? She's like, look at one thing, and they was like, what you like about Black is King? What didn't you like? She was like, it's some stuff I didn't understand. I get it. But my father broke some of that stuff down to me. But she was like, one of the things I do appreciate is that, in the cinematography, she's using words like cinematography and shit, right? In the cinematography of it all.
You sure she your daughter?
I'm absolutely positive. It's definitely in the genes, right? But she was like, I got to see parts of Africa that I've never seen, let's say in a classroom setting. Now, I've never been to Africa, but when I see documentaries on Africa, it's all this adverse poverty. That's all I get to see. But in this video, I saw what looked to assume to be like middle class living and wealth and abundance. And so she's very understanding and articulate. Like, man, I ain't with the bullshit. I know this exists.
Right.
And I don't buy into your bullshit.
Right.
And she was like, well, this is kind of why I don't like the school of man, because they fuck out of here with this bullshit.
Right. Because to believe the national narrative or even the international narrative would be to believe that you're going to walk in there, you're going to see a bunch of poor kids with flies all over their face, right? And that's just not true.
30 cent a kid day.
30 cent a kid, you can feed this kid.
But this is how the narrative is getting shaped, though, right? So we have these ideas about that standard of living in Africa.
Sure.
Right? Here's another number I heard just recently, right? Haiti is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, right?
Okay.
In Miami, American descendants of slaves have like a $13 median net worth. Haitians in Miami
have what?
A $2,000 net worth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Again, it's understanding our tribe, understanding our position as a tribe. We've bought into this illusion of being American in the larger context of what American means. But we're legitimately living in third world conditions inside of a first world country. But we don't recognize that shit because we can go shop and go use the bathroom inside wherever the fuck we live.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. We got to come up out of that.
Listen, we coming up on the end of the show. Got about 3 minutes left in the show. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for tuning into the program. We greatly appreciate it. Shout out to everybody that tuned in on YouTube as well. We see you guys over there. We thank y'all so much for being a part of the show as well. Thank you so much for always adding your comments and your input to the show. It is always valued. It is always appreciated. Again, we are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. Central Time to 3 p.m. right here on the Maze Jackson page. We are live from the What's in It for the Black People Media Studios. Maze says Studios. 2. Any closing remarks before we get out of here?
Yeah, man. Until you fully understand white supremacy, everything you think you understand
we almost didn't say it.
I said it earlier, man. But that's real shit, man. We just got a zero, what we say?
Grade reliance.
Zero grade reliance, man. Whatever they're telling you to do, you probably need to do the opposite. Right? I just want us to engage more in thought, man. When we start looking at the presentation of the presidential candidates, when we start looking at the presentation of the mayoral candidates, how does that benefit you? Essentially, the goal of the candidates is to what? Represent your needs. What are your needs? Let's define them. And if you can't define them, learn from somebody who has defined them. Pay attention to somebody who has. Get away from the goddamn mask and the charade sometimes and get to the bulk of the conversation. Get to the meat of the meal. Stop just eating the icing off the goddamn cake. Eat the goddamn cake, anime. Let's eat the goddamn cake. That's where the substance is found. You know what I mean?
I think that we live in an age where the icing is all we want, right? What's the shiny, trinky, sweet
sugar
part of it, right? So we go in and we grabbing the headlines. Oh, I saw the headline. Did you read the fucking article? No, I saw the headline. I think I know what it's about. You don't know shit, right? Dig a little bit deeper into that
real
thing.
shit, right? You sharing articles on social media, ain't read nothing but the goddamn headline. Don't know nothing about what's in the goddamn article,
right? Spend some time, read that thing, inform yourself, be able to give an informed opinion about whatever you're talking about. We love to hear ourselves speak, and that might be, I don't know, that might be contradictory. That might sound weird coming from somebody who does radio, who talks, right? But I think that we love to hear ourselves talk so much that we have a problem with silence. It's okay to just shut the fuck up sometimes, right? Yeah. If you don't know what you're talking about,
and listening is a skill, bro.
It's a skill.
It's a skill.
If you cannot improve on silence, say
Matter of
nothing.
fact, before we fully tune out,
real quick,
I want y'all to do this, right? And this is something I learned from my father, right? And this is something we don't do. But when I was a kid, every time I got in my father's car, NPR was playing.
Sure.
And for the whole entirety of my childhood, I hated getting in that man's car. Because I'm sick of this shit. This shit drives me crazy. But turn on GCI some shit. I want to hear some music. Because we have this, we're accustomed to hearing music when we get in the car, right? As an adult man, every time I get into my car, I turn on talk radio. Now, when I'm riding my bike, I'm on YouTube listening to talk radio. You know what I'm saying? It's like listening is a skill and it provides you with information. You don't like reading? Turn on somebody who's talking about some shit
who has
some value. Just every now and again. Expand your palate. It's just like anything, man. If your ass only eat McDonald's, you think that's all the world got to offer.
Sure.
It's other shit out here, man. It might taste just as good to you. Try it.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. Try I Say What I Said. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. For Tucson Warner and for super producer, the one and only Miss Sonia Escobar. My name is Herb Howard. Until next time, peace. I like this beat.
We still up there? Can you turn this off?
Yeah, I still got it up. I'm gonna turn it off.
Hit them stars!